What's up, guys? Welcome to the very first, technically, PvP tournament. We're gonna have a summer tournament today, Jake. It's just you and me right now. We've got
Just me and
Garrus, our
you.
behind the scenes. Yeah, he's gonna be our broadcaster. And so this is our very first tournament. We've been talking about this for quite a while. Been something that's kind of been like, hey, it would be cool if we could run a tournament every now and then, and we're finally doing it. Now, this is going to be a kind of unusual tournament compared to what you might be used to for the AWC. So, Jake, why don't you tell the audience about the sort of unique rule that we're going to be using throughout throughout today?
Yeah, of course. It's a slightly different kind of setup. I believe it's called Conquest. What we've gone for, where instead of being able to pick whichever comp that you want, the teams have had to submit three different comps, and they're allowed to change the spec only. So they can keep the same class, but they have to change the spec. So, for example, if you play one set of a comp, like let's say sort of RMP, sort of your Asa, Fire Mage, Holy Priest, you can change one of the specs for the next game, sorry, if you win. So it's pretty
Yeah,
exciting, actually. A kind of slightly different setup to how we've done it or how it has been done in the past. And I think it's going to be really exciting to see this sort of almost rock, paper, scissors kind of aspect that's going to happen.
yeah. The Conquest format is borrowed from I mean, I first heard the term in Hearthstone. Like in Hearthstone, in the tournaments, you have to submit three different decks. In order to win your series, you have to win with all three decks. And I think that's not something that's been ever tried in WoW tournaments. We've had pick ban tournaments and whatnot, but I think it's pretty cool if you have to hard lock your comps beforehand and then just win with all three comps. I think in this era of multi-classing, multi-specking, I think it's really cool to show how much you can master different compositions. And today, this is going to be an interesting tournament too because we only have three teams. So
Yeah.
we're gonna address the elephant in the room. This might be the fastest tournament you ever watch. But we have three teams. We have some heavy hitters in there. So Jake, why don't you tell us about some of the teams that we're gonna be seeing today?
Yeah, so I think you'll recognize a couple of them. Obviously, this is an NA only tournament, so these are teams that are based primarily on the North American servers. So yeah, you won't be seeing Echo here, obviously, but you will see some others. Probably one that you'll recognize is Team Dracocleve here with Zeke, with Meep, with Butter, and they've got Iron Baby coming in as well. So that's going to be really exciting to see them there. So that'll be welcome, first of all. That's going to be awesome. So they're hard hitters from the AWC. We've also got Team Hold On One Sec, which I believe they have gone into maybe not in the same team name, but definitely players that have played in the AWC before. So you've got Ferrix, you've got Sleepyhead Nesper in that team, which is awesome. And then the final team that we've got in, I think I'm most excited about this one, is Team Evermore. And they are a husband, wife, child trio, which which I think is awesome. So that's an actual family-based competing team, which I think is great. So that's going to be really exciting to see. So that's Alira, Silas, and Buff Windwalker, please. So I apologize if I butchered any names, but I'm really excited to see these teams go up like head to head. It's going to be interesting. I mean, what do you think about that, Big? I feel like that's I've never seen that personally.
Yeah, some families they go to the park to have a picnic on a summer afternoon on a Saturday, and some of them wind up in Nagrand Arena fighting Zeke in round one. It just
Yeah,
happens. It's very cool. I've never. I mean, I've encountered like husband wife teams, but never husband wife and son. Wow, like that. We got the whole family showing up for to play
legit.
some arena. But yeah, it should be fun. And we should be going into the first series in just a moment. But yeah, it's really exciting. As far as the other rules, to get into the nitty gritty, it's going to be following the same sort of pick ban. I'm not pick ban. Sorry, map selection and comp selection that we should follow in the AWC. So the loser is going to immediately pick the map. Then a winner is going to lock in their comp, and then the loser is going to lock in their comp, and we're just going to rinse and repeat this over and over. So Yeah, I mean, it should be an exciting set of games
Yeah.
we have here today.
Obviously, we've got the blind pick as well. That's
Yeah,
gonna that's gonna kick things off. So each team aren't gonna actually know who they're up against first, which I think is great. A lot of that surprise is going to come in, and then obviously it's also going to be really cool to see how they sort of change their comp depending. Obviously, winners can lock in the same comp that they play. Losers can lock in the same comp that they used beforehand, but winners do have to change. So
yep.
they may stick with the same thing. They may stick with what's proven or not proven, or what they feel most comfortable on, and then maybe change depending on what they're up against. So I think that's going to be really interesting to see what these teams kind of put together.
Yeah, and again, I think just like the normal AWC, I think this first blind pick is really important, especially when you have to win with multiple comps. You definitely want that first series win, and so that's going to be really important for some of these teams is making sure that they have a really good blind pick. And as you can see, we have the bracket up on stream. So again, we do have a bye that's going to happen in this tournament. So in the first series between Hold On One Sec is going to be a bye. They're immediately going to go to round 2, the semifinals. But first up, we're going to have Draco Cleave versus Evermore. That's once again Zeke's team versus the husband, wife, and son trio. And so we should be going into that series in just a moment. But as you can see, it's going to be a relatively short tournament. We're speed running a tournament. Here at Technically PvP, we're constantly innovating the tournament scene. And not only are we having a new rule set, but we're also going to potentially have the shortest WoW tournament ever. If if there was one team, I guess it would be shorter. But we have 3. But it's exciting. We're going to have a few games today. At least, what did we say? There's the potential to have 5 series broadcasted today, so it's not going to be super short, but just an interesting format overall.
Should we talk about that actually? Because I feel like that's another elephant in the room. Maybe less of an elephant, more kind of something that hasn't been said, especially for those of you who've just tuned in to us. How it's going to work is that there may potentially be a double elimination, because this is a double elimination at the end. So if C2 or C3 make it to the grand finals and they win, there will be another grand finals just to solidify that win. So it should be a lot of interesting and exciting gameplay to come. So double grand final, which will be interesting.
Yeah, this is something that the WoW AWC does not do. I mean, if you're familiar with WoW tournaments, they typically in the grand finals do a best of 7. We're not going to do that. We're going to do a best of 5, but if the team that came up from losers wins that best of 5, the grand finals then gets reset. And now both teams are technically in losers. And so the team that came from losers has to win 2 grand final series in a row to win the tournament. The team that was in winners only has to win 1. So this is pretty common with other games. I know Smash Bros does this. Fighting games, I believe, kind of universally do this. So again, some slight variations in the rule sets between technically PvP and AWC, but it's WoW Arena. Should be pretty familiar with it so far. Nothing too crazy. We could have done some crazy stuff, right, Jake?
We could have done some crazy
God
stuff.
knows.
I mean, we could have done anything. But if there is something that we could do, or something that is crazy, I tell you what is crazy, are the marketplace, where if you want to still contribute to the prize pool, which is still ongoing, there are some things you can buy from Matcherino. An example of that is beard shampoo and body wash, if you want to, and basically some of that money goes into the prize pool for the competing teams, or alternatively, just donate directly, and that will go straight in to the team's prize pool. So that is still ongoing. If you have already donated, thank you very much. We appreciate it greatly. It'd be great for the teams to kind of have something to kind of really work towards, kind of to get them involved and really feel like they've come out here and fought as hard as they can. So that would be really awesome. There are links for that in the chat if you want to go in there, or alternatively go to Matcherino.
If you want a beard like Garrison, then you're gonna need some beard oil. He has a Jake. You have a pretty good beard right now going too.
Thank you.
Now if you apply some beard oil, it's gonna be nice and shiny. I know the UK, it's really hot right now. You don't want to go outside, but if you did go outside, your beard would be glistening in the sun, and that would be very sweet.
Don't
We're
have
gonna
any
be
air.
going in. What? Oh, yeah. For some reason, Great Britain, as great as it
Mm,
is,
yes. Keep going.
isn't
You're
great
saying
enough to have air conditioning. And then you know what they do? They go on Twitter every summer and they're like, "Oh my gosh, it's so hot. If only what can we do about it? There's nothing we can do."
where's the
Man,
British
there's
accent? Come on, Big. You crack out your British accent. You got to do that again.
no,
I
I'm
don't
not
believe it. It
gonna.
doesn't sound.
I
Oh,
don't want to
blimey.
embarrass.
Come
I
on.
don't want to embarrass myself more than I've embarrassed myself today already. But anyway, again, should be going into the first series in just a little bit.
Mm,
We have some participants in the tournament that are actually in chat. That's kind of cool. I mean, Zeke representing Team Draco Cleave,
mm, yeah.
and yeah, and Nesper's in the chat. Finally, Meat Monk playing versus his own age group.
Exactly.
We have some trash talk, potential trash talk going on. Meat Monk, I don't know if you know this, but he's one of the youngest competitors in the WoW scene and the tournament scene. He might actually be the youngest. Calvish is like an old compared to Meep, I think now. I don't, Calvish is an old man. Meep is just a young lad participating in these tournaments.
I
But
mean, that's true. Yeah, you forget how long Calvish has actually been competing now. Because in my head, Calvish has always been like just a little baby. You know, I feel like he's never really grown up. And then Meep comes along, and yeah, Calvish is an old man.
that's right. Meep needs to carry the torch for Meep Monk is the future of WoW, you know. He's carrying the torch for all the aspiring young PvPers.
Mm.
And so Meep, no pressure or anything, but you have a lot of responsibility. It's kind of funny how that torch has always been passed, you know. Back in my day, it was
Okay, boomer.
like yeah, okay. Back in my day, it was like Peekaboo was like the young upcoming player. You know, that was like, oh,
Yeah.
this rogue, he's really good. He plays RMP. He's a cool kid. You know, plays fast, and sort of that torch has kind of been passed gradually. And on the EU side, it used to be Waz. You know,
True.
this rogue. You know, Waz and Peekaboo were the young players, and now they're old boomers. You know, they're still
Mm.
playing in these tournaments like 15 years later.
Yeah. They're not here today though, so unfortunately, the torch is being carried. Well, maybe not unfortunately, maybe fortunately, it's being carried by Meep, and he has got an impressionable, maybe same age, I'm not sure, younger uh, person in the tournament to kind of sort of pass that on to. So depending on how things go, it might be time for a change. But I think it's really awesome to see younger people get into the WoW arena scene. I don't know about you, Big, but I always seem to feel as if like I remember when I first played, I was like 13 years old. I feel young. I still feel young. And when I see new players come in that are sort of in their teens, still playing WoW, then I'm like, how are people finding this game? What is going on? It's crazy. I feel as if it just blows my mind every single time I think about it.
Yeah, when I first started playing WoW, I don't tell anyone this, but I played a dwarf hunter, and
Oh my god.
that was my original main. And I remember I was playing with my friend from school. He got me into playing WoW. You know, he's my friend James. Basically, whether he knew it or not, like set the course of my life in that moment. And so it's kind of funny to think about, like, had I not gone over to James's house that one
You wouldn't be here.
evening after school, yeah, I wouldn't be here. And
Thank you, James.
we have some new lore. Apparently, a Sleepyhead healer for Nesper and Ferrix is a former professional raider turned preservation evoker god. I can neither deny nor confirm those claims, but we're gonna roll with it.
Maybe we should go to
And
Twitter with those claims and see you've got it. That's the kind of area where you confirm or deny things. We need a community note to confirm this. Otherwise, I can't believe it. There's no way I can trust that information.
yeah, and I know. I think Sleepyhead plays other healers too. So Ferrix, don't undersell Sleepyhead as just a preservation evoker, but I could be completely wrong on this too. We're gonna have to pull up the old reliable check PvP and get some lore.
That's
Maybe
that,
only
that's what I did earlier as well. I feel like you need to just go to check PvP, and if they're not hiding it, then you find all the information. It's really
that's
the kind
right.
of the Craigslist of WoW.
So yeah, so it looks like Sleepyhead is a multi-classer, plays a paladin named Stinkyhead. You know, it's a
Cracking in.
shaman, resto shaman. Looks like a priest, a monk. Doesn't play druid, which is a bit sus. You know,
Yeah.
it.
Hmm.
What's with that, Sleepyhead? Come on, something against druids.
I think everyone's got something against druids.
I don't know
But yeah,
why.
we will be getting into the games shortly. There's just we just got a few things to sort out before we begin. But
Okay.
if anyone is excited for different teams, please do let us know in the chat. Let us know who you're excited for. Do hashtag. I saw hashtag team fake team. I feel like that they're the ones that I'm really rooting for today. Hashtag fake team. Put them in the chat. Let us know who you're looking forward to seeing, what you're excited for. How's your day going? Like, it's a Saturday. It's quite late for me because I'm unfortunately in the land of the United Kingdom. But for those of you in NA at the minute, I imagine it's quite nice and bright. I hope sunny. I hope it's not raining. I hope everyone's having a good time. But thank you very much for tuning in so far. Big. I mean, you've watched the AWC like me. You must have be excited for a specific matchup. I know we've only got three, but is there one in particular that you're excited to see?
I'm excited to see anytime Draco Cleave is on the screen.
Hmm.
Um, so that is what I'm excited to see. I like that comp. I think if there's one comp that could, that would define Dragonflight as a whole, it would be that DK Devastation Evoker, Frost DK Devastation Evoker. It's one of those comps that, like, if you had a time machine and you could take someone from the past and teleport them to modern WoW and they saw that comp play, they would be absolutely like, that meme, like, it would kill a Victorian child. I think that comp would kill a Victorian uh,
Oh,
TBC player. Imagine being in 2007, seeing a
yeah.
glimpse into the future and seeing a dragon fly across the screen and a panda just like whacking people with a sword. I mean, that is some crazy PvP. And that's what
Wow.
we've arrived to so far in Dragonflight. So yeah.
Yeah. No, that's interesting. I think it's what's exciting for me. I remember watching the Dragonflight trailer and being like, wow, I want to play this class. And then I played it for a little while. I was like, you know what? This isn't as fun as my shaman. So I went back to the shaman, but I feel like playing it nowadays, just every single evoker, maybe apart from augmentation, just because of a little bit of that PTSD. But I feel like it's such an interesting and amusing sort of thing to have in WoW. You'd never think that you'd be seeing like these dragons like flying across each other, especially when they're deep breathing. I think it's great. I think it's an interesting concept. And yeah, whenever you see Draco Cleave come out, you've got that kind of one-shot combo that comes in. I think that's a really interesting comp. I'm also really excited to see Team Evermore get out there and have a great time and just bring that family energy. I think I saw in the chat earlier, family set bonus. I think that's great. I think the family set bonus is going to be in play, and I'm really excited to see how things get together. But we're just getting things a little bit sorted at the minute, guys. Apologize for the delay on this. We're just making sure that everything's working on the technical side of things. But just to kind of reiterate again, if you want to help us out, if you want to put any more donos in, please head over to Maturino and take a look at that. There's a lot of things you can go for. If you don't want to kind of directly donate, then you can actually buy things for yourself, like the beard oils. We've got a few things up on there. In fact, actually, let me have a little look. I think beard oil is definitely part of them. There's also Dodger coffee beans. So if you're into your coffee, get some coffee for yourself. Again, that puts $5 into the prize pool, and the actual coffee itself is, I think, $11. I don't know the exchange rate because I'm a silly, stupid Brit, but I'm fairly sure that seems pretty good. There's some other things as well, like the coffee sample pack. You can get a Maturino black t-shirt. Again, that just pops stuff into the prize pool and then something nice for yourself. So obviously kind of really reward the guys that kind of come in today. I know we've only got 3 teams, but it'd be great to kind of have them leave with a nice prize pool for the effort and obviously for taking part. But yeah, so we're excited. If you also haven't done it yet, please do go to the Bonus Roll Productions Twitch. That is where we stream the Technically PvP podcast, talk about all things PvP. I think we had our 200th episode a while ago. We were on 207 at this week, where we spoke to Mystical and talked about Mistweavers. So if you haven't already, please do go take a look at that. I'm going to put that in the chat for you guys. If you want to go follow, make sure that you check us out when we're live. It's every couple of weeks on a Wednesday night. I think it's 11 my time. I'm fairly sure that's 5 o'clock Eastern time. I'm not entirely sure. Don't trust me on that. Maybe go check our Twitter and follow us on Twitter as well to kind of keep track on that. So we really appreciate that. But we talked to loads of different people. I think we've had Zeke on as well at one point. I don't know if I was on the. I don't know if I was on there at that point. I don't know if I got to speak to him. I can't remember. It feels like a long time ago. But it was great to speak to him and have a chat. But we've had quite a lot of different people on there, which is great. So, yeah, thank you very much for tuning in so far. Go give that a follow and check us out when we're next live. I think it won't be next week, but it will be the week after. Cool. So I think we're going to be going into our first game in a second. Big. I don't know if you're able to confirm that with me, whether or not you are.
I can confirm we are in Nagrand Arena, and we are going to see Team Evermore, the husband, wife, and son trio, versus Draco Cleave. Again, going out for that Saturday picnic in Nagrand Arena to get triple Draco.
Draco, yeah.
Yes, and as you can see, we already have the comps on screen. I don't know if this is intended, but we have a KFC versus Draco Cleave. A KFC is a comp I haven't seen in a while. And it looks like we're playing Resto Druid, Arms Warrior, and BM Hunter into that Mistweaver Monk, Frost Decay, and the Dragon, Devastation Evoker, and the gates are going to be opening soon. What we're going to be looking for is that triple setup from the Draco Cleave. That's going to be very, very punishing, especially if the Resto Druid is involved in that triple stun setup. But the gates have opened, and it looks like Draco Cleave is getting that set up onto the Resto Druid immediately, trading out Barkskin and Trinket and Treeform, so the entire kitchen sink is being thrown into that cooldown exchange, and it looks like the Warrior is going down too. This is a lot of damage, and immediately both players get blasted, and so that was a lot of damage, kind of what we expect from a comp like Draco Cleave, to just triple CC people and just blast, and that's exactly what happened. The Resto Druid got caught out, traded a lot of cooldowns, and it wasn't enough, unfortunately.
Nope. That it wasn't. It was there was a short but sweet win for Draco Cleave there. A lot of damage coming out in that nice setup. It was interesting to see that double kill on the Warrior and on the Resto Druid at exactly the same time. Yeah, wow, very intense, very explosive start to the first game of the TPAWC. So I hope everyone's as excited as we are, because that was very intense. Any other thoughts on there from you, Big? Like I feel like it was pretty much just one setup and done at that point.
Yeah, I mean that can be what happens against this comp, and it's really difficult to survive that initial clash because there is so much damage being thrown into the mix, even from the from the monk if they're playing Fistweaver. And so it's a lot of damage, and I think if you're Resto Druid, to survive that, I mean it's very difficult because you trinket, you get strangulated, and then it's just lights out. So you kind of have to be very careful with your trinket, specifically as the Druid in that matchup, and try to trinket trank almost immediately, because that damage is basically unhealable, and you're going to have the triple AoE Purge coming out from the Devastation Evoker. Really brutal just to survive that. So you kind of, again, need to throw the entire kitchen sink at it, but be a bit careful at the same time. You don't want to trinket into a Strangulate immediately, and so you need to be very snappy with that trinket Tranquility. But then, of course, that leaves you vulnerable to the next setup. So it's kind of a careful little dance you need to do against this composition. And if you're not ready for it, I mean, this is exactly what happens. You just kind of get blasted. But hopefully, absolutely, in the next series, we can see in the next game, we can see some adjustments coming out from the husband, wife, son trio. And I'm looking for that Resto Druid to pretty much just trinket Tranquility immediately, because otherwise, I mean, that damage is almost impossible to survive, especially when there's AoE purges going out. I didn't see what was happening with the Hunter. I think the Hunter sort of avoided the damage, which is good. But we're going to be going into the next game in just a second as the loser picks their map. And we're going to see what comp Because again, remember this is a conquest format, so Zeke's team can no longer play Frost Decay, Devastation Evoker, Mistweaver Monk. They need to change at least one of those specs to something else. So maybe we could see Zeke coming out on a Unholy DK next, potentially. Same sort of flavor of comp. Big blender cleave. They want to grip everyone in and just blast damage. Seems to be the theme of Dragonflight. But we could also see Butta potentially play that Windwalker Monk. It's been a while since I've seen Zeke and Butta, the Windwalker DK team. I think they played a lot during Shadowlands. That kind of solidified Zeke as the Frost DK was that expansion, playing the Walking Dead cleave. And so we're going to be going into the next game in just a second as these teams figure out what they're going to be playing. But again, the husband-wife trio team, they can play the same comp. They don't have to change their comp at all. They can if they want to. But I'm assuming they're going to be sticking with their guns. Coming out with the KFC. It's been a while since I've seen KFC in Arena. And I respect it. Actually, no, I lied. I've seen KFC in Arena in Cataclysm Classic.
Yes. Yeah.
So, have seen that comp just on a different expansion. And by the way, Jay, you've been playing Kata.
I have been playing Kata. Yeah, you know what? I was just thinking to myself, how long until Big asked me about Kata? I feel like this is where our conversations always kind of tend to drift to very recently. I have been playing a lot. In fact, I was playing some just before we started the the stream. So I was really excited for that. I'm having so much fun. Honestly, I've kind of moved away from the Warlock and gone straight into a bit of a DK. Been playing a bit of DK, so quite good to see obviously DK being played on retail from Zeke and obviously in the comps. So I've been really enjoying Kata, which has been so much fun.
So I've been playing Wrestler Druid in Kata, which, if you don't know, isn't necessarily the best healer. I don't think it's terrible, but it's definitely not the best. And the other day, I got soloed by an Unholy DK.
Yeah.
And it was kind of embarrassing, but it's kind of expected. In that expansion, Druids are kind of weak, and let's just say Unholy DKs, if you don't peel them, they can be quite scary. And I wasn't peeled. My partner was all the way across the map, hitting a Ret Paladin. And I thought I did a good job rooting the DK, but then I just quickly got some necrotics on me and didn't line the gargoyle, and it was lights out. That's what happens in these old expansions.
Yeah. I remember having a look at some of the kind of plethora of information that's around, and you don't even need to press chains that much, although obviously you get a load of runic power for doing so. But any of your kind of major abilities like Necrotic Strike or even Plague Strike drop down the kind of the slowing circle around. I can never remember names for things sometimes.
Desecration,
the desecrate the ground beneath you, and that's just obviously the most annoying slow ever invented ever. I remember when I was playing Feral in Wrath, that was the most horrible thing to have to move past, and that's great. So it means that you kind of got like a free slow from just doing damage. So, and if you're trying to get through that, I'm fairly sure as a druid, even if you shift it, it just reapplies the slow back onto you as you kind of move through. Not fun.
That is a brutal ability in Cataclysm. But we're going in enough about Cataclysm. Actually, it's 12 Veron Arena. This is a Cataclysm map, not in Cataclysm, ironically, but we are in, what is it? Oldir? What is Oldham? We're in Oldham. Oldham, okay. So nice little segue there, but it looks like we have the comp adjustment that was made by Draco Cleave. Meat Monk is logged on that. It looks like a Holy Priest, and so we're going to have a very similar matchup here. We're going to have KFC versus Draco Cleave. Just this time, we have a Holy Priest thrown into the mix, and Holy Priest, I know they had their damage, I believe, nerfed recently, but, they're still pretty steady. Their damage is pretty scary, so I'd expect another sort of explosive opener. And the adjustment we're going to be looking for that Restorer to make is that Trinket Tranquility. So, Jake, why don't you walk us through the opening stage of this game?
Yeah, of course. So obviously both teams kind of moving in. It looks like there's a charge from the warrior that kind of comes in. They're looking to set up maybe on the Resto Druid again. There's a lot kind of going on here. There's a shockwave that comes out. We've got the avatar from the warrior, and obviously we've got tree form coming out from the Resto Druid. But they kind of the Resto Druid has kind of positioned themselves away. Oh, we've got the deep breath with the kind of blinds up the front, so we can't get any healing out. It's looking like Zeke is taking a lot of damage, and so is the warrior at this point. Die by the sword comes out there, and it looks like they're swapping back onto the hunter. There's a lot of damage coming through with Meep kind of going into the angel form there, and another swap onto the Resto Druid, who then uses the tranquility. Damage kind of seems to be evening out here a little bit, but maybe we'll see what's going to kind of happen here. I know, Big, what do you think? What's going to happen next?
So it looks like we're having Zeke's team play at that pillar right now as their setup is done. They force string it on the Resto Druid and the Warrior, so next setup is going to be absolutely brutal. But it looks like the Hunters are going to be taking some damage, trades out that aspect of the turtle. Now we have major cooldowns being forced on Evermore. Basically nothing left while Draco Cleave is chilling on most of the defensive CDs. It looks like they're going after the Resto Druid right now, who's just in the middle of the map. Tree form is about to expire soon. Healing is about to be very brutal for them as they now shift into bear form, and they're going into that corner of the map. I don't know. Here we go. We got the triple AoE setup. Looks like we got the deep breath, and the Druid is going to be taking a lot of damage with a chastise. Do we have anything out? It looks like no. I don't know if Zeke has his strength blade available, but right now we're seeing that cleave pressure being applied to the warrior, as it looks like Evermore might be stabilizing here. It looks like they've survived now 2 setups, but Meep is pushing in potentially for a fear on the Resto Druid as the warrior is dropping critically low. And with nothing left, they go down. So a bit of a longer game that time around, but the Resto Druid did trade out that Tranquility quite early. But here we go. We have Draco Cleave winning map number 2, and Evermore, doing a better job that game, I think, for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Little adjustments went a long way.
It does, yeah. I think it was really good that the way that the Resto Druid was able to how Illyria was able to kind of get out of the setup, the cleave setup, and get away back to the pillar to kind of reposition and get away from just the sort of ongoing massive amounts of damage. It was really, really impressive to see. There were a lot of times where Draco Cleave kind of dropped low, and I kind of looking worried for Zeke, but obviously no Icebound was needed. A lot of the cooldowns were kind of kept on Draco Cleave, and they sort of just mowed through Evermore's sort of cooldowns there. So the second setup was kind of, I suppose, very strong, and obviously the warrior went down, but no die by the sword.
Yeah, and this is a complete aside. Man, casting a game is very difficult. I need to stop. I need to stop vaping. Jeez.
You vaping in the middle of casting?
No, God, no. I mean, imagine if maybe I should.
Maybe you should. Maybe I need to.
Joking. Jeez. My throat's already taken a hit. This is intense. Didn't realize casting was this difficult. My God.
Yeah, my respect levels of Super T's and Zico and Ven are massively high. And they do it for 8 hours.
They're the throat goats, apparently. Like they can go for hours. Oh my God, I'm a throat noob.
Yeah, throat noob.
This is hard, man. Anyway, this is the technically PvP Summer 3v3 tournament, and we have match point for Evermore, the husband, wife, son trio, getting taken to the graveyard again by Draco Cleave. And again, but Draco Cleave has to play another comp because again we have a Conquest format, so we don't know what they're going to be playing. Maybe we could see Butta on that Windwalker Monk, just like old times.
I feel like there's a
throwback.
Yeah, you really. I think if Buster's in the chat, maybe convince Zeke that this is the way forward. Move to the Windwalker, because Big really wants it. He really wants to see that Frost DK Windwalker Walking Dead comp variant. I feel like that's So I feel like I think that's gonna come in. Maybe, who knows? We'll see.
We'll see. And anyway, we're gonna be going into the match point, potentially the last game of this series in the first series of the day, and it looks like we're on Ashmane's Fall. Nice little map, Looks we got a good shot of the lion's butt right there. That's basically what I look at every day when my cat is in front of my monitor. Thank you for zooming in there, Garrison. We got too zoomed in, Garrison. Control yourself, you dirty dog. He's behind the scenes, going wild on the camera. Anyway, it looks like my wish was granted. Oh my gosh, we got Buddha, God of Shaolin, on that Windwalker Monk. We got Draco Cleave pulling out the classic Walking Dead composition. Meat Monk on a Panda. Quite disturbing as well. Got a weird looking transmog going on, but it looks like Evermore is locked in the same comp.
Yeah.
And Jake.
Yep.
At the gates are opening. Walk us through this game.
So we've got the hunter on the survival hunter there. So obviously we've got triple panda here for the Walking Dead, which I'm really interested to see. Obviously that's you've got the panda kind of stun there, which is exactly what's happened there. Meep is going for the touch into the thing that I can't remember the name of that kind of roots me. Then goes for the leg sweep, and there's here's the setup that's coming. We force the die by the sword. With Pillar of Frost activated, lots of cooldowns going. The Warrior's so low. We've got Treeform activated. Are they going to be able to keep him up? Obviously, Butter going low a little bit there from the damage output. That's Karma activated. We've got Avatar up. We've got Ironbark activated. There's a lot of cooldowns going. We've got Trinkets used on the side of Evermore. And we've got a lot of cooldowns used there. Are they going to be able to keep going through that big? I think it's looking kind of stable at the minute.
Yeah, right now Draco Cleave has a cooldown advantage. It looks like Meat Monk does still have his trinket, but here Evermore has triple trinkets being forced, and that could be lights out the next setup. We're going to see that in 15 seconds. All Evermore needs to do is try to see if they can maybe establish some pressure before that Pillar of Frost comes back off of cooldown. It looks like Zeke has everything ready in just a moment. We're probably going to see some sort of stun or some sort of pre-CC on the Resto Druid. Oh, here we go. We're going straight into it. It looks like Zeke is popping off with that dragon. That dragon comes down and he's cleaving down both these melee, and the warrior is just going to go down as Meat Monk does a really good job CCing the healer in the background. So Evermore is going to be sent down to the loser's bracket as Draco Cleave advances into the semifinals. Really good job, I think. Good adjustments from Evermore from game one. You know, I think there may have maybe been some tournament nerves. Of course, Draco Cleave is a dangerous beast to deal with in Arena. It's always going to be explosive, always going to catch everyone off guard. But congratulations to Draco Cleave for winning and advancing into the semifinals, where they're going to be playing against, I believe, Nesper's team next. As we're going to get that series set up in just a moment. But yeah, I think really good job by Evermore making some adjustments. And, you know, it's just Frosty K's, man. Once trinkets have been forced, you gotta pull off a miracle to survive the next few setups. So that's definitely a comp that execution tests any team. It's gonna be scary, no matter even if you're Evermore, even if you're Sea-Doo, Draco Cleave is gonna be scary. Right, and that's you can't mess around with Frosty K's. It's very difficult.
Yeah, no, it was so scary. I forgot what the word for paralysis was at that point. So yeah, it was a really impressive kind of go. I think it won't be the last time you see Evermore. They obviously move down into the losers bracket now to face whoever loses from the semifinals for another chance to kind of come back up into the grand finals today, which would be really great. So looking forward to seeing them once again. But yeah, this is a dangerous setup comp. I think we've seen quite a nice little spread of the comp choices. You got your wish big. We did see that Frost DK, the Walking Dead variant. I think that's you must feel really pleased. They listened to you.
Yeah, they did. You know, there's an expression, commentator's curse. I don't know what the opposite of a commentator's curse is, but it looks like we do have the bracket being pulled up right now. And if you can use your imagination, you need to imagine that Draco Cleave has advanced to the semifinals, where we now are going to see them face off against Hold On One Sec, which of course is going to be Ferrex, Nesper, and Sleepyhead. I don't know if they have a fourth on their roster. I should know this. I'm one of the admins of this tournament, and I apparently don't know what the teams competing. It looks like they do have a fourth on their roster with Vigorista. They have a DK. That's kind of a weird... I mean, I guess they have like Assassination Rogue Unholy DK, which we actually saw in the recent AWC. So maybe they're tipping their hat to Sea-Doo with that potential comp. But I don't know if you know this, but Nesper is currently the highest rated player in 3v3 and 2v2 on North America. playing that assassination rogue. And it's kind of funny, I was thinking about this before the tournament started. It's very rare that assassination rogue is the best spec this late into an expansion. Usually it's outlaw or of course subtlety. But assass, that spec has really stood, I guess, the test of time. It was really dominant early on in the expansion, and then it kind of went dormant. Then after the rework, Assassination Rogue is the meta rogue spec. I mean, that's kind of unusual, right? I mean, we typically don't see that this late into the expansion.
Yeah, usually they've been nerfed to the ground, which makes everyone really happy. But it's definitely interesting to see them so strong. I think I guess the prevalence of how well they work with so many different specs is probably the reason why we see so much of them. Obviously, you've got that strength from all their cooldowns, and the fact that they do have Shadow Dance as well, which means Garrote silencers abound. It's all over the place. So kind
Yeah.
of scary, very difficult to kind of queue into. Awful for anything that's got like a caster. So I feel like Shadow plays kind of the worst nightmare is this kind of assassination rogue that kind of comes in and silences them whenever they're trying to do anything. So, but that
Well,
might,
yeah, I think Assassination is kind of the best of both worlds currently for rogues. I mean, it's got the consistent spread pressure. It's got the burst now with Kingsbane. I mean, it's definitely a dual threat. So I'm a rogue fan. I'm not gonna lie. It's kind of not something you typically want to admit publicly. If you don't want to be executed. But I
true.
do like rogues, and I myself play a rogue, and I've been playing Assassination Rogue a little bit this expansion, having a good time. Um, and so I'm just gonna speculate. I'm gonna guess we're gonna see Rogue Mage versus probably Frosty K Devastation Evoker. Again, I think for this blind pick, both teams are gonna be locking in what they think is their best comp. But Jake, what do you think about what are we gonna see in just a moment?
Yeah, well, I think I'm pretty certain it'll be kind of as you imagine. But I think we'll probably get them Draco Cleave logging in, well, kind of choosing their main comp versus the RMP. But I think if we have a look, we should be getting up soon the images of there it is there of the comps there. We've got the RMP, but with the Preservation Evoker instead. So very exciting to kind of see there. And yeah, it's going to be an RMX variant versus the Draco Cleave itself. Very exciting. What are your thoughts so far, Big? Do you think that's going to be a difficult one for the RMP to get through, or the RMP going to kind of control this burst setup?
Well, I think Draco Cleave's going to have a really difficult time establishing a really good go initially because I think they're going to have to deal with that nullifying shroud coming out from Sleepyhead. But the gates are going to open, and we're going to see in just a moment if Sleepyhead's going to cast that nullifying shroud and how Draco Cleave is going to deal with that. Looks like Sleepyhead hasn't committed it completely quite yet. It looks like he's casting it now, so the nullifying shroud is up. Meat Monk is sapped into a polymorph, and now Bud is taking a ton of damage from this rogue mage. Looks like he's going to trade out that rescue and the obsidian scales, and he's going to be completely fine. But Meat Monk did overlap that with a life cocoon, and right now we have a potential AoE setup onto Hold On One Sec, as Sleepyhead and Nespar are getting blasted. Looks like a nullifying shroud didn't even matter as Sleepyhead goes down, and that was a very fast game, kind of in both directions. As Draco Cleave takes round number 1, I was sure that they were going to have to delay a setup because of that nullifying shroud, but it looked like it didn't even matter as Sleepyhead just got blasted with damage, and Nesper was even I think didn't Cheetah didn't proc, but I guess he died or something. In any case, Draco Cleave is going to take game number 1 very fast.
Very fast. Almost kind of mirroring the first series that we saw against Evermore, that just explosive damage that came out. Maybe not nearly as quickly, but that they kind of, once they lived that sort of initial go from the RMP, they are able to set up with the deep breath, with that sort of kind of line of sight block from that PvP talent, which is kind of really kind of isolating Nespa in there, and for all that damage to kind of come out, and within seconds it is over. So really terrifying. I'm excited to see how and which comps they choose next, whether, well, obviously the winners do have to choose a different comp, so they won't be able to play that Frost DK Devastation Evoker comp. They will have to move to something else, whether or not it's back to that Walking Dead comp, or whether they go with the Unholy DK for the setup instead. Who knows? But it's going to be exciting, and we'll see what Ferrex decides as well, trying to combat that.
Yeah, and I was actually kind of worried for Draco Cleave because there was a bit of a defensive overlap. But the Draco Cleave's playing the short game anyway, right? It's kind of a guns blazing, YOLO, live fast, die young. So I mean, even if you trade out your defensives quite aggressively, I mean, you can kind of use that to carry momentum for your setup, and which is exactly what they did. They used the strength of their defensive cooldowns to sort of set up a big shield while they go for their big offensive push. And we are going to be going into the next game in just a moment as both teams decide what comps and what maps are going to be played. I wonder, I imagine Draco Cleave. Well, we're going to see in just actually we don't have to speculate any longer because we're going to be going into Hook Point Arena as what do we see, Jake?
It's obviously we're going to see we're going to see your favorite comp. It's the Walking Dead with the Frost DK, and obviously Meep on the Mistweaver, or potentially Fistweaver here, and obviously Butter on the Windwalker. Obviously, hold on one sec. Ferrex's team have chosen to go with the same comp, so they're going to stick with the same comp as they did last time. The Frost Mage with the Outlaw Rogue and Preservation Evoker. So it's going to be really interesting to see how they kind of keep up with the damage. I really hope that they're able to kind of find a solution. Obviously, this is a very similar sort of setup comp as we've just seen. And with the gates kind of opening, it's going to be interesting to see whether or not the RMP can kind of clap back with another sort of very fast kind of CC based big damage output, or whether they're going to be able to survive the first go. So yeah, the gates are open here. We've got the Nullifying Shroud coming up on Sleepyhead. They're kind of pushing in to kind of get rid of that Nullifying Shroud. We've got Adrenaline Rush popped, and we've got AMS kind of used by Zeke here. We've got Meep using the big cooldown from the Mistweavers kind of come in to save our Windwalker there, but the big setup kind of coming up with the Zoo Ends. Windlord used. Nespa's kind of really going low. It's looking a bit scary here. I think Big. What do you think?
Well, Nesper got away with that setup quite easily with just trading out that Vanish. Right now, Ferrex did take a little bit of damage. Right now, Meat Monk doesn't have his Trinket as he is getting pressured by Nesper. No Trinket Cocoon for Meat Monk, so this next setup from this RMP could be quite deadly as he's still got about 30 seconds left on that Pillar of Frost cooldown. And right now, Meat Monk is caught into a full Polymorph. Let's see if the RMP can do anything off that. It looks like it's followed up with a Sleepwalk as Nesper now is getting stunned. And right now, both teams aren't doing quite too much, but we do have that setup coming back up from Zeke in just a moment, as right now his team is just kind of, these two teams are sparring in the midfield. Looks like Nesper doesn't have his Trinket, Sleepyhead doesn't have his Trinket, Ferrex doesn't have his Trinket. Right now, this RMP is going to have to deal with a very scary setup coming out from Draco Cleave in just a few seconds as that Pillar of Frost is coming back off of cooldown. Meat Monk gets caught into a full Polymorph. Right now, And looks like Bud is taking quite a bit of damage. He doesn't have many cooldowns to trade, just that dampening harm. Can they get a setup in the next few moments? It looks like no, as Butta just dies on their team, on his team's go, I'm sorry. And that RMP, they were on a timer and they took advantage of that. And actually, hold on 1 sec, is going to be the team that's going to win this game number 2. So quite a lot of things happened in that game. A lot of back and forth.
Yeah.
Could have gone either way. I mean, honestly, if Butta had survived, I mean, Zeke had his Pillar of Frost active on the death, and I mean, Nespa's team had no cooldowns left, no trinkets. So that game, if that game would have lasted 5 more seconds, could have potentially had a different outcome. But it's going to be the Rogue Mage coming out on top, as now the series is tied up 1-1. And both teams are going to need to decide what they're doing. So now, Nespa's team, I keep on saying Nespa, Nesper's team is the one who needs to decide what comp they're going to be playing next, because they can no longer lock in that Outlaw Rogue, Frost Mage, Preservation Evoker. And yeah, so we're going to go, the series is now tied up 1-1. Pretty exciting stuff.
It's interesting. I
And
think it'd be interesting to see what they go for. Obviously, now Draco Cleave could, in theory, choose a different comp. They can stick with the same one, or they can go back to a different one. They've got the options there to play. Obviously, they want to kind of choose a different comp, whether or not it's Unholy DK or whether they go and stick with the same one there. It's going to be really exciting to see what happens on the side of the RMP, whether or not they kind of change up the Frost Mage, maybe move it to a Fire Mage, whether they change up the Rogue. Obviously, healers are totally fine. Healers, you can stick with the same one, but what they choose for the DPS, it could be interesting, could change the flow of the game. Make it a bit more difficult for them to kind of do the same setup as last time. But I feel like they had a good answer to the damage that came out. They managed to kind of sustain themselves, and as you rightfully said, all those trinkets were gone. It was kind of over for them if Butter had survived that last go.
yeah, I mean, both these comps are quite explosive with their damage profiles, and of course, RMP has a lot of CC, and Meat Monk, I believe, was caught up in a polymorph at the end of that game. And the Outlaw Rogue damage is pretty consistent, same with the Frost Mage damage, a lot of consistent damage, and so even a simple setup just with something like a polymorph can spill a death, and that's exactly what we saw, as Butter had no cooldowns to trade in that last exchange. I mean, Dampened Harm was up, but Dampened Harm is kind of a weird cooldown, right? It's not not gonna save you. I mean, it can. It's just kind of a tempo cooldown. You press it, and it's you let Zuen take the wheel, and whatever happens happens.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I think also there was that Ring of Frost as well around the poly, just in case that Meep can get out from the polymorph or comes out, or they survive long enough so you can't run in and kick some stuff and do some healing. So little bit scary, but I'm very curious to see what they kind of decide to go into for the next time. But so far it's been it's good to see that there's a nice little 1-to-1 in the tournament so far. I'm really glad to see that Team Hold On 1 Sec have managed to take one from the Draco Cleave. Because it was looking pretty one-sided in that first game. I was a bit worried about that, but I feel like they're doing so well, and it's so great to see such an explosive amount of damage come out from the RMP and really do what they do best.
So with that Outlaw Rogue now, that Outlaw RMP winning, Outlaw Frost, what do you think? What adjustment do you think we're going to see for the next comp? Are we going to see an Assassination Rogue? Are we going to see a Fire Mage? Are we going to see an Arcane Mage? God forbid we see a Sub Rogue, right? There's no way. I mean, maybe.
They're the worst, aren't they? Sub Rogues do nothing. They're terrible. Apparently, yeah.
According to every Sub Rogue, they're not biased.
No,
but apparently, according to every Sub Rogue sucks.
Well, I mean, you're playing Asa right now, so I feel like you're part of the Rogue crew. Like, what's your feelings on the Sub Rogue?
I play Assassination because it is the real Rogue spec. It is the poisoner. They bleed. That's what a real Rogue does. A real Rogue doesn't. What? Secret technique? What is that? So that's I want to press. You know what? I want to press Kingsbane, not Secret Tech. Because I'm a short king, and I have a short Kingsbane.
Short Kingsbane.
Yes.
Oh my god. Yeah.
I need an ability that represents me.
Well, I mean, what you're doing is you're cutting them down a size. Like you're pressing Kingsbane, short Kingsbane, and they cut at the knees. They're the same height, just a little biff in the face. That's it.
That's right. Stab their ankles a little bit. Cut them down to size.
Indeed.
And so they can look me in the eye like the true rogue I am.
Exactly.
But anyway, it looks like we're going into game number 3. Ashmane's Fall was picked as the map, and we do have a comp adjustment from Hold On 1 Sec as we see that Assassination Rogue coming out from Nespa. So we have basically the same matchup that we saw in the first series, kind of, but with some slight variations, as we have that Assassination Rogue, Frost Mage, Preservation of Ochre going up against Draco Cleave, with Meep now on the Holy Priest. And so I think this is going to be another explosive game, as the gates are going to be opening up in 20 seconds. So, Jake, what do you think is going to happen in this series or this game?
Well, I
what we're
think
about to see.
interestingly enough, we have Zeke on the Unholy DK as well. They're kind of moving
Ah.
their setup back onto the Unholy DK. Well, not back onto moving on to the Unholy DK. So maybe not as much of a setup, kind of more damage as it comes out. But obviously the gates are now open, so we've got Nesper kind of running in looking for that sap there. We've got Nullifying Shroud up. They're looking to kind of get that off immediately with the sleep kind of being casted by Butter there. A big Ray of Frost out onto Butter, gets gripped. Zeke grips Ferrex to kind of interrupt that. Butter's going down real low there. No cooldowns used apart from the rescue, so still got that wall there, but we do have the Guardian's Angel and the PI used from Meep, so there's a lot of damage kind of going out as the teams are kind of trying to do everything. There's the big setup, a lot of damage onto Sleepyhead there, so it's looking a bit scary, but they're kind of doing all right at the minute, Big. Where are they going to go next?
Well, Meep doesn't have his trinket, but it looks like he's being caught in a full kidney shot. Let's see if there's any CC to follow that. Looks like the Ring of Frost is being casted. I'm sorry, the blind has now landed on Meep Monk, and right now that's looking quite scary as the polymorph does land, and Bud is going to be under a lot of pressure. He's going to trade out that Obsidian Scales. Looks like he's going to be fine, as it looks like Draco Cleave has survived this setup, and Zeke is now applying the pressure to both Ferrex and Nesper, who are dropping critically low, as Ferrex might be forced into that ice block. Does manage to get away with just the Emerald Communion coming out from Sleepyhead, but right now Meat Monk is actually under a lot of pressure as Butta is now being swapped to. If any CC lands on Meat Monk, it looks like an interrupted land. It looks like Butta could be under a lot of pressure right now. Any CC on Meat Monk could spill the end of this game, as Butta is now caught into a full CS. He does rescue himself away. And it looks like they might have survived right now. Actually, the polymorph is being casted on Meat Monk. It does land, but Nespa is taking some counter pressure right now. And with no cheat death, he's actually going to go down. That was kind of a lot to happen in just the end of that game. A lot of what was going on.
Yeah.
As both teams, again, were kind of killing each other on their own goes. That was kind of crazy. But it looks like Draco Cleave, is going to win this third game and hold on one sec, on match point. A lot of stuff happened. I'm gonna be honest, these games were very hard to follow. These are lots going on.
There is a lot going on, and I'm not going to lie, it's interesting with obviously the Unholy DK for the kind of same setup. They still obviously get that deep breath go happening that kind of cuts Nesper off from getting any healing whatsoever. So he's kind of isolated with all that damage coming. And if there's one thing I know about Unholy DK at the minute, it just feels like their consistent damage is just through the roof. So although there isn't those like kind of crazy pillar goes, there's just a lot of consistent pressure coming. So they're kind of, most of them are at sort of half health. We saw kind of a lot of times where Nesper and Ferrex were kind of stuck at half health from that Unholy DK damage. Obviously, with the Devastation Evokers, kind of insane disintegrate spam, which does a lot of consistent damage as well, and all those healing absorbs, kind of scary. They've made it work for them, so they've kind of won with that Unholy DK. They've won with the Unholy DK and the Frost DK. They have got one comp left to try and make work, and obviously, hold on one sec, has got a couple to choose from. So it could be interesting, this match point game. Will it go to a game? Is that game 5? I imagine that's game 5. Yeah. Will it go to a game 5, or will we see Draco Cleave kind of take that win and move on to the grand finals? It could be interesting.
You know, in all these games so far, Meep has traded out his trinket and his major cooldown in the opener. Which, you know, every time that's happened, I'm like, oh my god, you know, they better win on their first go, because, I mean, they're dealing with RMP, you know, a team that's very good at punishing cooldowns, specifically from the healer. But every time I've been proven wrong, you know, I'm like, oh god, the Meep has nothing left, and then, you know, he gets caught into a poly later on. I'm like, this surely is going to be the game. But, you know, Butta doing a really good job surviving. Rescue at the end of the game coming out in the nick of time. But it seems like this RMP, you know, they're so close, right? They've almost capitalized on these trinkets being forced early on from Meat Monk. But just, you know, close doesn't cut it in Dragonflight, right? You need to be there is no close. You have to really push your advantage and execute on it. But we're going to see what comps these teams have decided to lock in just a moment, as it looks like we're going into our next game in just a second. as the queue has popped.
There it is. Yeah, so it's looking like we've got the good old Dalaran sewers. Fun fact about Dalaran sewers, I think in Wrath, I don't know whether this is still the case in Kata, but in Wrath you could jump up one side. They didn't have the four sort of pronged stairs going up. The one side of them you could jump up if you were a certain character. I think it was male night elf. You can do that. So that's kind of we don't have to worry about that now because obviously they fixed it. But it's an interesting fact nonetheless. So Dalaran sewers kind of it's been bug abused, which is kind of makes sense.
I have the memory of a goldfish. I'm going to be honest. But I do believe Ferrex is that we have seen a comp swap on the side of Hold On One Sec, as now Ferrex is playing Fire. So they're playing Fire, Assassination Rogue, Preservation Evoker, and it looks like Meat Monk's team has again made a comp adjustment, going back to that Walking Dead. Zeke on a Frost Decay, Meat Monk on a Mistweaver Monk. So this is going to be, I think, a very short game, potentially, as the gates are opening. Let's see if Nesper is able to secure a sap. Looks like he's not. And right now, Meat Monk is stuck into a full blind. Looks like he's going to get out of that without any problem. As Nesper is just still in stealth, he was kind of maybe looking to do something cheeky on Meat Monk. But right now, neither team really doing that much, as Nesper is still in stealth. As Ferrex is just kind of forcing cooldowns by himself. AMS has been forced. Looks like Dampen Harm has been forced, and Nespa hasn't even opened yet. But here we have a cheap shot onto Meat Monk. Let's see if anything gets converted off of that. Looks like we have a setup right now onto Nespa. Let's see how he responds, as he is being stuck into a full leg speed. Trades out that Trinket Vanish. It looks like he's going to be A-okay. As right now, Ferrex is taking a lot of damage in that Strangulate. Looks like Cauterize has already been forced, so Ferrex kind of under a lot of pressure early on. And this is not looking good for Hold On One Sec, as Trinket has been forced from Nespa and Ferrex, and Cauterize is not available. But they looks like they are turning it a little bit around onto Zeke, who's taking quite a bit of damage. Looks like Buddha has put it away, and this team is looking to stall, I guess, for their next setup. So they just need to survive. It looks for 20 more seconds for that Pillar of Frost to come back up, but right now Meat Monk's under a lot of pressure as that triple Garrote Silence comes out. Looks like AMZ is going to be traded out to deal with that. And right now, we're just waiting for that setup to come back up from Frost God Zeke, as Nesper did pop his death mark, but that's not really a real cooldown that we have to worry about. But right now, let's see if Zeke can get a conversion onto this RMP.
Yeah, there's obviously, you've got the trinkets from Draco Cleave still available. With Sleepyhead still got his, but Nesper and Ferrex don't. There's the big dragon kind of coming out looking for the stun there. There's a kind of lot going on, a lot of damage kind of coming out into Zeke. Zeke is now trading the damage cooldowns. We've got leg sweep used. We've got all the damage cooldowns coming from the monks. Zeke is so low. We get the cocoon that kind of comes out. A lot of damage coming. The RMP are trying to kind of survive away from this damage with the combustion popped. And they're kind of looking like they're sort of kind of evening out here. I think both teams are sort of trying to move away from each other, trying to set up for their next go. Obviously, the Assassination Rogue popping the bomb there to try and get some damage out on Meat with a big swap with a kidney shot. And he goes down. That's it. Wow. Hold on one sec. Kind of securing that equalizer on the match point. Wow. What an incredible swap there. That was very intense. No, I'm really impressed with the Assassination Rogue and the Fire Mage kind of coming out, kind of a lot of that rot pressure with the Fire Mage and the Assassination Rogue, but then also that kind of insane burst that comes from there. Really intense. So yeah, very impressed with that. They kind of managed to sort of kind of ease their way back and forth and kind of really secure everything as much as they possibly can. But yeah, well, what did you think, Big? I mean, it was intense at some points, very different.
Well, in that last exchange, Nesper's cheat death actually procced. Yeah, both teams now have done goes on each other's goes, and it's been quite explosive to say the least. So yeah, I mean, it's a lot to pay attention to, but at the end there, both teams kind of were teeing off on each other simultaneously. Nesper's cheat death did proc, and that kept him alive long enough to finish off Meat Monk in a smoke bomb. So pretty, again, very explosive games. If you're used to the AWC, we typically don't see a set of games like this fast. I mean, these are some high intensity games lasting only a few setups. But I mean, that's exactly what comp like Devastation, Evoker, Frosty K, and Walking Dead. I mean, that's what we kind of expect, guns blazing the entire time. I mean, it's quite it's quite a lot when both these teams are doing their goes into one another at the same time. It's like, oh my god, both teams are dying. Like, what do we do? What do we do? It's a lot.
Indeed. We have, I think, also another interesting point here is that obviously both teams have won with 2 different comps. So we've got the obviously with Hold On 1 second just winning with their Fire Mage Assassination Rogue. They do have one other comp left, and Draco Cleave will still stay on their Windwalker Frosty K comp in order to secure that last win. And obviously kind of get that win. But obviously both teams are on match point. You won't see, I suppose this is quite exciting because of the fact that we haven't seen anything like this where teams are having to play certain comps into each other. They don't have to choose their best one every single time. So you're kind of coming out there and kind of having to play on the back foot. And I suppose that's quite interesting. Definitely exciting to watch from our POV. So yeah, just obviously another one as we're watching here, and we're waiting for the teams to kind of secure and get and everything to go through. If you do want to donate and support and contribute to the team, do go check out the link that's just been posted in the chat. Go have a look at that. And yeah, thank you so much for kind of tuning in so far. So yeah, we're excited. Big.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm ready to go into match point for both teams as we have game number 5. We're loading into this arena whose name I can never remember. Blackrook Hold. Don't know why I always struggle to remember this name. I have the memory of a goldfish, as I mentioned before. But it looks like we have that Rogue Mage back on Assassination and Frost. The main spec. So I guess Ferrex, he's a main Fire Mage. I don't know how he would describe himself, but Ferrex now on that Frost Mage into that Walking Dead setup from Draco Cleave. I'm expecting another very fast, explosive game with both teams doing their goes simultaneously. But Jake, what do you think is going to happen in this game?
Well, who knows? I mean, obviously the last time they queued into this with the Unholy DK Draco Cleave variant, we did get Nespa caught in that deep breath. But we're going to see how it goes up against the Walking Dead here with the gates opening in a couple of seconds. Maybe Nespa this time will get the sap, and whether he kind of commits early or not, we'll see. So obviously he gets the sap onto Meep with the kind of go kind of setup. Kind of coming in from the Draco Cleave now. They're sort of running. The RMP are trying to kind of keep away from everything that's going on. With the kidney shot kind of moved on to Meep here. We've got a lot of damage coming out onto Butter. And now the grip obviously used there. We've got the whole setup being used now. A lot of cooldowns being held out. Nespa's going really, really low. And he just goes down in that one setup with the Song of Chi-Chi coming out onto Sleepyhead. And obviously the stun at the end. Wow, what a setup. A nice little change. But that was a big go, and Nespa kind of went down hard.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like they were trying to do a sort of slower opener, sapping Meat Monk, corroding both DPS, committing some damage to Meat Monk, but then Nespa getting caught in that stun, did trade out his trinket, but no vanish like last time. And, if you don't immediately trade out that vanish on the go, I mean, you get stunned on your trinket or whatever, I mean, you're just basically getting blasted, and that trinket is pretty much meaningless. I believe Cheat Death did proc, but so much damage coming out from this Windwalker DK team that Cheat Death doesn't always save you, right?
No.
You can die quite easily through Cheat Death these days. But Draco Cleave advancing to Grand Finals, and that means that Nespa's team, hold on 1 second, is going to be going down to the losers bracket to face off against Evermore, who's chilling down there. Again, we have the bracket up on screen. Use your imagination, right? Imagine where these teams are in the bracket. As right now we have in the grand final, Draco Cleave is going to be chilling for a few minutes, as Evermore is going to be going up against Hold On 1 sec. Very fast games, like. As I said at the beginning of this broadcast, we are speedrunning a tournament, quite literally it seems, as we have had multiple games sort of end within a minute or even under 30 seconds. pretty crazy stuff. Honestly, not too unexpected. That comp, it's one of those things where it's just like the game is going to be fast in some direction or another. But
yeah, it's honestly terrifying. But I think we're gonna go to a 5-minute break, just obviously between the semi-finals. Now obviously coming up after the break, we're gonna have Team Hold on One Sec versus Team Evermore. We're going to see potentially that RMP versus that KFC, which is going to be an interesting series. So don't go away. We'll be back in 5 minutes. But thank you so much for watching so far, and we'll see you, in 5. howdy.
guys.
Oh,
We are back and refreshed. You know, I was hitting the vape. I'm just kidding. I was having some water because my as we mentioned, casting ain't easy as we're finding out, right, Jake?
yeah. Yeah, it's definitely especially with these explosive comps where so much is going on at the same time, and I think we were kind of talking about this on our on the break that when you're doing it from this different POV when you're not actually in the game yourself, it's so much more different, kind of having to kind of recognize and see everything. There's no like IRL weak aura popping up for me, let me know that things are going on. You know, you've got to kind of look at it from a different way, and
Right.
and the throat obviously is it's definitely clammy, that's for sure. So
It's getting triple gripped, leg swept, dragon strangulated, right? We're
yeah,
getting strangulated in real
yeah.
life.
Touch of death went straight into my throat right there. Yeah, definitely to my
Uh,
vocal cords.
that's right. So next series is going to be Hold On One Sec versus Evermore. So that is going to be Nesper, Feryx, and Sleepyhead versus the I keep on calling them the husband, wife, son trio. I forget their character names. I
And
should.
unit.
I'm a bad I'm a bad host. You know, I don't even call people by their names. But we have Ezabet, uh, Slace. Silas.
Silas. Hmm.
Yes, Ezabet, Silas, and Viking Ninja. That's a cool name, Viking Ninja. That. Did you ever play? Do you remember those games? Backyard baseball, backyard basketball. Did you play those in the good old Great Britain as a kid? The
Backyard. No,
computer
we played British Bulldog when I was growing up. I don't know if that's definitely not the same thing.
British
I,
Bulldog.
yeah, I can explain that one to you if you want. I don't know if there's any UK big up viewers listening, but British Bulldog is essentially where there is one guy on a field, and the rest of you line up on the edge, and you have to run the other way, and the Bulldog has to tackle someone, and if he tackles you, you join his team, so on and so forth. I don't know. That's probably totally unrelated to backyard.
That is complete. Okay, so backyard baseball was a computer game.
No, definitely not. That's not what I was thinking. That's what
Ah,
I. That's definitely not what I thought you were talking about. Maybe that
okay,
makes
no,
me
no,
a
no.
boomer.
But anyway, Viking Ninja sounds like it would be a team in backyard baseball. That was what I was gonna say. Maybe I'm too. Probably no one knows what I'm talking about, so I'm just going to just shut up as we're getting ready for this next game. Um, and it looks like both teams have locked in their comp. We're going to be going into Nagrand Arena in just a second. We're probably going to see a KFC versus Rogue Mage, definitely. As we are going into Nagrand Arena right now. So Jake, tell us about these comps.
Yeah, so obviously, as you said, we do see the KFC coming out. I believe that is that the B that's a B is that a BM hunter there, or is that an MM hunter? I can't actually tell.
That's a marksmanship
Yeah,
hunter.
I thought it was. That's an MM Hunter there. Going starting with the MM Hunter KFC, and obviously we've got the Fire Mage as a rogue RMX with the Preservation Evoker as the heals there. So it's going to be an interesting one. Definitely interesting blind for sure. I think it's going to be interesting for the KFC with the MM Hunter instead of kind of going for survival or going for the BM Hunter here. MM does a lot of damage, like a lot of damage
Yeah.
from range. So if you're getting swapped to, if the warrior gets focused or anything like that, that's a lot of damage coming out. But obviously, we've got the gates opening in 1 second.
Yeah, we're going to see if Nestor is going to be able to secure a sap. That hunter is probably going to be in camouflage. Maybe we're going to see an opener onto that warrior. Looks like Nestor is pushing in, and right now Feryx is already the target for this KFC, as he does trade out that Alter Time as the hunter gets put into a full sap. It looks like we're probably going to see an opener onto the hunter as Sleephead does try to look for that sleepwalk. It does get interrupted by the hunter. Really good job. Right now, it looks like Nesper, has he found a target yet? He is going on. It looks like maybe the Resto Dread is now. Feryx is taking a lot of damage. Nesper does trade out that evasion. Looks like we have a kidney shot on the Resto Druid, trades out Barkskin under a lot of damage. And right now, Silas under a lot of pressure too. Trades out that die by the sword, but it is too late as that death mark comes in to finish off Silas. And you got to be kind of careful against assassination rogues because they do have a talent that when you drop low, it's going to take all that bleed damage, and if the bleed damage were to kill you, it's going to instantly kill you. So that's, I believe, what happened. Sudden death, sudden demise proc, I believe, on the warrior with Death Mark, and that's why he died through Die by the Sword. So quite literally, the cooldown lived up to its name, Die by the Sword, and the warrior did die through the Die by the Sword. And hold on one sec, taking a very quick game into Evermore.
Yeah, absolutely. There were some moments there. Obviously, saw the 2v3 at the end with Viking Ninja feeling like he could take him, but obviously, hold on one sec does take the win there. Yeah, so obviously, hold on one sec. We'll have to move back onto a different comp now. So obviously, that was the Fire Mage Assassination Rogue variant of RMP. So yeah, that's that there, and we're going to see what they move on to, whether they go to that Frost Assa or whether they bring back the Outlaw Rogue. Kind of depends on how they're feeling, but yeah, obviously the kind of losing side. So Team Evermore can stay with the MM Hunter variant of their KFC, or they could move to BM, or they could move to something else. I personally feel like they should stick with the MM Hunter for now. I feel like MM Hunter is really strong, and there were moments where Feryx would drop low and there was a lot of damage coming out. So maybe if they're able to kind of keep the warrior up, or find a way for the Die by the Sword to come out sooner, or some peeling to happen on that RMP go, then maybe they will be able to live and get some damage out, maybe in a trap.
It looks like we did have some technical issues, and fortunately the audience did not see that last game. So what basically happened was there's an assassination rogue in Nagaran Arena who pressed Garrow twice, and then Rupture, pressed Kidney Shot, used Death Mark, and then someone was dead. Okay, so that's what happened in that game. And the warrior died through Die by the Sword to a flurry of blood and steel coming out from an assassination rogue. But we're going to be going into game number 2 here in just a second, as Evermore has their map pick selected, and we're going to see what sort of comp adjustments Hold on one sec makes. I'm going to guess they're going to go back to Assassination Rogue and probably lock in the Frost Mage this time.
Yeah, I mean, that would make
we'll see. Yeah,
that would make sense to me. I feel like lock back in that Frost Mage, and go with the Assa Rogue. There's a lot of damage kind of coming out. Maybe they go for the same sort of strat against that warrior there. As you say, die with blood and steel and poisons, assassinated quite literally through that final cooldown.
Yes. So we're going to be going into this next game in just a second, as both teams are ready. The war game request has been sent. We're waiting for the queue to pop, and it looks like we're going into Tolvaron Arena, making our way back to Oldham, one of my favorite zones to level in for Cataclysm. Got a lot of Indiana Jones references, and you can slaughter some gnomes at the end of the quest chain, which is always fun. Slaughtering gnomes in a big giant fireball. Really cool stuff. And speaking of fireballs, we don't have any fireballs this game because Feryx has now locked in the Frost Mage. We have Assassination Rogue Frost Mage, Preservation Evoker versus KFC. Looks like the Hunter is sticking with their guns quite literally, back on that marksmanship specialization. A lot of damage potentially coming out on Feryx if he can connect. But Jake, the gates are about to open. Let's have you walk us through this opener.
Of course. So yeah, I do notice that I feel like the Marksman Hunter has taken Snake Trap now with that option up on there. So maybe there's a different aspect, a different way of kind of tackling this RMP. Hunter kind of moving into the back nest, but looking around, looking for that Resto Druid and looking for the MM Hunter when they come out. But there's a lot of damage. Ray of Frost and Icy Veins popped for Feryx, so a lot of damage going on to Silas there with Avatar up. No defensive cooldowns used just yet. We do have Feryx's Trinket be used, and now obviously the Trinket Ironbark and Tree of Life from Elvira. So yeah, a lot of damage kind of coming out here. True Shot Aura going out, and there's just a Ring of Frost frost down there, a lot of CC, a lot of Garrotes, big kidney shot onto the Resto Druid. Are they going to be able to survive? No trinket. Bark's getting activated. Obviously, a restun off the top of that, and the Resto Druid goes down. That is a lot of damage and a lot of CC chain getting that trinket out first. Yeah, that is the RMP doing what RMP does best.
Yeah. Nesburn in these games is trying to be a bit cheeky. Committed the blind to the Resto Druid, maybe to try to sap off of that in stealth. The Resto Druid did sit that, I believe, and then trinketed something, and then got swapped to with a kidney shot and died. Standard, this is what happens if you play a healer and you play against an assassination rogue. This can happen, right? Got to be a bit careful with that trinket. So yeah, it looks like we're going to have match point for Evermore, as we're going to be going into this next game in just a second. And yeah, it looks like that. I don't know. I think that Snake Trap is actually Chimera, or not Chimera Shot. The Silence. I can never remember the name. See, I have the memory of a gold. I should know these things, right?
You know what? I didn't know either. I play too much Kata. That's the problem. I'm seeing stuff and I'm thinking this is a Snake Trap right there.
It's the Silence. That what the heck is that thing called? Let me pull up the old trusty talent calculator here, and so I can. Jeez, it's been so long.
That's it. I think the problem is that neither me nor you play Hunter.
Chimeral Sting. I called it Chimeral Shot. I was close enough. Chimeral Sting. Who knows? No one knows the name of that ability. Chimeral Sting. Who knows?
I'll get away with it. You might as well be called Snake Trap. It's a snake trap for your mouth, so you can't cast you can't do anything. You're silenced. There we go. If you shoved a load of snakes down your throat, I'm pretty sure you wouldn't be able to do anything. So
no, that's a pesky little. That's a ratty little ability, like it's first it slows you, then it silences you, and then you're just like, oh man, not very fun. Scorpion venom into spider venom into viper venom. It's basically it's snakes. Hunters are putting snake venom on their arrows and shooting them into a target, and this is what happens. This is not what happens in real life if you're to shoot a snake venom arrow into someone, but in World of Warcraft, fortunately, is not real life. You don't instantly die, but you do get silenced.
You do.
So, yeah, both teams are now deciding what they want to do for match point. Evermore, I want to see something creative coming out of them. I want to see something bold. I don't know what you can do into this rogue mage, but I want to see Ferrix get hit with a aim shot or sniper shot or something. Let's see a sniper shot. I want to see a sniper shot come out. If you check the PvP forums, you'll see a lot of complaints about this ability because apparently sniper shot wreaks havoc in random battlegrounds. And Tovaron Arena, that's basically the size of a random battleground. So I want to see some sniper shots on a big map. I want to see that. I believe the hunter is playing Volpera. I want to see a Volpera hunter come out with a sniper shot into aim shot into Ferrix, and I want to see how that health bar moves. That's the adjustment I want specifically.
So you want that sniper shot into the aim shot into Ferrix, and then Ferrix into the ground? Is that how it's meant to work?
That would be ideal. It does look like we have a smaller map this time around, loading into Ashmane's Fall. As Evermore, sticking with the same composition. We don't have the Chimeral Sting this time, unless the hunter is going to be respecking. But it does look like, hold on one sec, has locked in their final comp, and they have no other choice. They're forced to play this for the rest of the series. They have the Frost Mage and the Outlaw Rogue. Indeed.
This is the comp that they won against Draco Cleave, originally their first win. This is it's looking to be strong. I think there's going to be a lot of damage kind of coming out here. I imagine if they get the trinket again from the Resto Druid, there'll be a nice little swap. But they won't have that sudden demise coming out onto the warrior through Die by the Sword this time. But it should be an interesting game to start with. Obviously, the gates are going to open in 1 second. We'll see how things go. Nesper last time kind of hung back, was kind of being a bit cheeky, kind of waiting to see what went on. But we do open with the kind of stun on Nesper. I think he gets flared out there. And a lot of damage kind of being engaged. We've got True Shot Aura used. Icy Veins engaged. A lot of damage coming onto Silas here. Trinket used by the Resto Druid into a cheap shot. Are they going to swap? Nope. Then we get the Trank and Bark Skin kind of coming out. So a lot of damage kind of moving here. It looks like they're kind of starting to stabilize. Adrenaline Rush used by Nesper. So the damage is still kind of going. A lot of damage kind of coming out in general. Avatar used for Silas and a full Ring of Frost onto the Resto Druid, with Tree of Life still activated. Die by the Sword on the Warrior, and they're swapping to the the Hunter now. Sorry, who uses Exhilaration and kind of gets that heal back up from there. But there's a lot of damage going, and it's kind of looking a bit stable here. Big.
Yeah, Evermore unfortunately doesn't have any defensive cooldowns left except for that aspect of the turtle. Who's going to be the target next for this RMP? Let's see if Evermore can reverse pressure at all onto Feryx, as this Marksmanship Hunter is coming out of a disarm, casting an aim shot. But right now, the Resto Druid is under pressure in that kidney shot. I think they should be fine. Actually, right now, it gets followed up by a cheap shot, and that might be it, as they're under a lot of damage, shifting into bear form, trying to get away from this rogue mage. But the pressure is endless, as that Barkskin does get traded out very low on HP. So I think actually Alira should be fine here, as Nesper is getting peeled by that Stormbolt. It looks like Evermore has managed to stabilize for a little bit. Sleepyhead has got into a full trap. Let's see how Feryx is able to respond. Not much damage coming out onto Feryx, as that Hunter is put into a full kidney shot. Really good job by Nesper. Denying that go, as Alira is now caught into a full polymorph. The Hunter is under a lot of damage right now. Let's see if they're needing to force out that aspect of the turtle. It looks like they are fine, as they pop that tree shot, and Feryx is going to be taking a lot of damage, but that disarm comes in clutch from Nesper, shutting down that marksmanship damage. Feryx should be fine. Right now, though, let's see if the RMP can get anything going on the Hunter, who doesn't have a trinket, caught into a full kidney shot. If they are able to survive, they do pop out that aspect of the turtle to block that kill. Is Alira able to stabilize the Hunter's HP coming out of that polymorph, caught into a full sleepwalk? I believe the Hunter might be going down here if there's anything left. It looks like those trees are going to be stabilizing the Hunter's HP. Alira performing a miracle, keeping the Hunter alive with that Iron Bark, but right now the Warrior is actually taking a lot of damage. Let's see if this KFC can reverse pressure at all. I'm hoping to see some sort of trap, some CC come out onto Sleepyhead. Feryx right now is just kind of teeing off with Nesper. I believe the next setup from this RMP could spill lights out, as this Evermore truly has no cooldowns left. Die by the Sword is available. Alira right now into that tree form, going to be stabilizing HP. If Feryx is now actually dropping a little bit low. A lot of back and forth things happening right now in this game.
Yeah, so the Ring of Frost kind of coming out ready for that setup. We do have the Die by the Sword ready for the Warrior, so if there is any goes on him, he still has Trinket and the and Die by the Sword. But yeah, a lot of damage coming out onto Feryx there. They are kind of holding their own, able to push that damage out there. But the Hunter is going down low. Mana is very even on both sides, and Feryx is actually kind of dropping down. Still has that Ice Block available, so should be okay. But yeah, there's a lot of damage coming out here. The full kidney shot onto the Druid, who uses Trank instead to kind of stabilize the team. But both teams kind of stable. True Shot Aura activated. They're looking to do some damage onto Feryx, but at the minute there's a cheap shot on the Hunter, so there's a lot of damage coming through. Full poly onto the Resto Druid there. Ray of Frost activated, and the Hunter goes down. That was a nice little setup with no Trinket on the Resto Druid, and that is the final there.
Yeah, Nesper did force the trinket from the Druid with a kidney shot, then put the Druid into a full blind. Feryx managing to sneak a polymorph in there, and the RMP, or the Rogue Mage, does Rogue Mage things, landing a CC chain on the healer and closing out the game. So Evermore is going to be eliminated from this tournament. Very good job, though. Really good showing in this last game. I mean, they're playing against the highest rated players in North America, and they're still playing it out, The Warrior's pressing the Die by the Sword. Let's see if he dies by the sword once again. And he does. So, honorable. Very, very Warrior thing to do, right? To pop your cooldowns and try to survive. And this Resto Druid is doing the same in bear form. But Evermore, really good showing in this last series. Again, playing against the highest rated players in North America. And surviving for 4.5 minutes. Really good job. But we're going to have Nesper's team with Hold On One Sec going into the grand finals to meet Zeke once again. But very exciting series. I got to see some things I wanted to see. I always like seeing Volpera. I was happy to see a little dog running around. And really exciting series from these teams. And we're going to be going into the grand finals. And we're going to see a rematch between Zeke and Nesper. The two titans of Dragonflight Arena.
Yeah, and definitely two titans of the TPAWC, our summer 3v3 tournament. Again, guys, if you do want to help us out, help send any of the donations that you want into Mancherino to kind of help, obviously, kind of buff up the prize pool for the two teams. That you don't have to donate directly. You can, if you want to, buy specific items like beard oils or a t-shirt, something that looks cool for you, something to kind of make you looking nice and sharp as you go out and do your daily stuff, whether that's kind of, I don't know, out to the mall or going on dates or whatever. Go buy some stuff, help us out, and yeah, help these teams kind of get a nice little prize pool for their hard work. But honestly, very impressed by Evermore's last game. That last game seemed to go on almost for 5 minutes. Actually, it was a really good showing, and I think there were moments where it was looking scary for Ferrex, but I think the trust in the teammates there, kind of holding on to that block despite all the damage cooldowns, kind of being popped by the hunter and the warrior, was severe, was strong and able to kind of hold on to that ice block in the end. So looking forward to this next one in the grand finals. But obviously, just to remind everyone how this goes, I believe the loser coming up from the losers bracket going up. If the losers bracket gets the win, having worked their way through the bottom, there is a double elimination. So the grand finals are reset, and they will do the grand finals yet again. So that is how that one is going to work there. But obviously, if Drake or Cleve do take it and win, then that is all they need to do, and the grand finals and the grand prize is theirs.
Yeah, it's a definitely a different format than what most WoW PvP fans might be used to, but I think it's quite exciting. You know, it's normally we see a best of 7 series, and that's kind of the tournament's over. But here we could potentially have a grand finals reset, and which is pretty exciting, you know. And and we're doing this because it is the Conquest format, where in order to win a series, you have to win with every comp that you locked in. So before this tournament started, we had each team select 3 compositions that they're going to play in the tournament, and in order to win any series, you have to win with all 3 comps. So we saw that with this last series, as we saw Fire Mage Assassination Rogue, Frost Mage Assassination Rogue, and then Frost Mage Outlaw Rogue. So these slight comp variations really demonstrate how much these players have mastered their class, or how well they can multi-class, and so it's always very exciting. And once again, as Jake said, if you want to contribute to the prize pool, you can do so directly with a donation, or by checking out the marketplace, where you can get some beard oil to look like Garrasar. You know, he's oiled up his beard probably for this tournament, getting it nice and shiny, making sure everything is looking good in the background. So you can check that out. There's also some t-shirts, some coffee.
Indeed. Make sure you go get your beard oil and look as sexy as Garrasor does. So obviously we're going to go in with the grand final. Big, what do you think? What are we going to see from that blind pick? We've seen obviously all the team comps now from both Draco Cleve and hold on one sec. What do you think we're going to see?
I mean, we've already seen what we're gonna see, right? It's gonna be some
in the blind pick.
I want to say it's so. Again, I think both these teams are gonna stick with what they think are their best compositions for the blind pick, and so I imagine Draco Cleve is going to be going in with that Frost Decay and Devastation Evoker. And if I had to guess, actually, maybe hold on one sec is going to lead with Outlaw Rogue potentially. I don't know how, what sort of the rock paper scissors is when it comes to rogue specs playing into Draco Cleve, but yeah, it's Outlaw might be the safety pick for this first series, I believe. Did we see that last time? I don't remember what comp they selected for the first map last time. But
which team? Sorry, Draco Cleve.
No,
team.
Hold on one sec.
I think they went for. I think they chose one of the. I think they chose Outlaw Rogue.
Time. Okay.
So,
yeah, I think they did as well.
So the Outlaw Rogue kind of came out, and then they went back onto it in the second game. But I think the Outlaw. I think the Outlaw Rogue Frost Mage is going to be their best bet, making sure that they've got the double block just in case. Outlaw Rogue is also very tanky. It'd be a good way to kind of secure that win, at least that first win, going up against Draco Cleave, and then obviously move on to the next one, whether they can defeat the Frost, DK, Devastation Evoker comp with its variants with the Unholy DK for the second game. It's an entirely different one. It is a kind of a bit of a game of chess, a bit of sort of rock paper scissors as it were, to kind of figure out what would work best against which comps and kind of try and predict what may or may not come. Obviously a bit more difficult in the blind pick, but I feel like there's ways you can kind of think about it strategically, kind of going into the next match and what works and what doesn't.
Yep, and we have loaded into Nagrand Arena, as Hold On One Sec did lock in that Outlaw Rogue Frost Mage. Again, maybe the safest composition they could have played into Draco Cleave, who is going to be playing that Frost DK Devastation Evoker. So what happened last time in these two teams met is Nesper seemed to be the kill target for Draco Cleave. You know, one game they forced Trinket and Vanish almost immediately, and then in another game, Trinket was forced and Vanish didn't happen because there was a restun and Nesper died. So, you know, this game could be potentially very fast in either direction, honestly, as these are two very explosive comps.
Indeed, yeah. There's a lot of damage kind of coming out, and it seems to sort of kind of go back and forth. The RMP goes one time, and the Draco Cleave goes the second time, but obviously the gates are opening here. Let's see what happens. Well, will we see Nesper kind of go in for the sap? He kind of zooms past straight away using the grapple hook to kind of get the blind onto Meep as they're looking for the setup there. No sap initiated, but obviously both teams are kind of looking to kind of set something up. Ferrex pops the Icy Veins, and we see the Anti-Magic Zone and AMS kind of pop there just to kind of deal with the damage coming out from there. But yeah, there we get the grip onto Sleepyhead, grip onto Nesper. We've got the blinding sleep. The damage is going to come out. Ferrex gets paralyzed, and a lot of damage being pressed onto Nesper there, who is kind of responding with that Cloak of Shadows. Obviously, we've got Obsidian Scales and Rewind from Sleepyhead there. So a lot of damage kind of coming out. Are they going to be able to kind of off that back? I mean, Zeke is going down incredibly low there. Only Icebound Fortitude and his Trinket left, but it's looking kind of scary, Big.
Yeah, there was a lot of damage coming out from that RMP. Ferrex just teeing off right now. It looks like Meat Monk is caught into a full polymorph. Let's see how they respond. Chrono Loop is just going to get away, and Zeke's team is again stalling until their next setup, which is going to be in 20 seconds. So RMP really needs to push that advantage right now, as Nesper's taking a little bit of damage, and both teams are just kind of sparring off behind this pillar. Looks like CB Head is going for a sleepwalk onto Meat Monk. Let's see if there can be any follow-up polymorph or anything off of that. It looks like Zeke is stunned behind the pillar. He should be fine. Meat Monk does trade out that preemptive diffuse, potentially looking to deny a potential setup onto himself. Looks like Nesper is going to be caught up into that blinding sleep. We're having the triple AoE setup. He has his Trinket to respond, potentially with an evasion, but he is going to survive through it with... Actually, he doesn't survive through it. I was going to say that Emerald Communion might be enough, but it was not enough, as Nesper had... I mean, he had evasion. Would have stopped maybe a little bit of damage, but Sleepyhead did try to block with that Emerald Communion. Wasn't enough. Cheat Death not there to save the day, as Draco Cleave is going to win the blind pick with their primary composition.
Indeed. Yeah, I feel like maybe Trinket Evasion might have done something, but there's a lot of magic damage coming out. Don't know whether or not that would have saved Nesper in the end. Maybe they just thought the Emerald Communion would be enough to kind of see it through, but there was obviously a Strangulate coming out from Zeke just at the end of that after the Song of Chi-Ji and paralysis setup go. Yeah, a lot of big control, a lot of damage coming out. There are a few scary moments. Looked like it was looking bad for Draco Cleave at one point. None of the trinkets, no AMZ, no AMS, all used in the beginning preemptively to kind of stop that RMP go. Or RMX go, sorry. So yeah, looking scary. I feel like that could have gone anyway. If Nesper had survived that one, possibly a big go onto any of them. On the next swap.
Yeah, and I mean, Ferrex is doing an absurd amount of damage, by the way, in that opener. And Nesper, again, trying to do some cheeky stuff with blinding Meat Monk in the opener out of stealth. He actually managed to secure a sap off of that, and then opened on Meat Monk, and then opened on Butta. So Nesper's trying to do some cheeky stuff here with these blinds onto these healers early on. Kind of difficult to kill a Mistweaver Monk, because they can, of course, port while stunned, but if the monk is away from their port, that potential counterplay can be avoided. So I think choosing the Devastation Evoker as the target to open on does make quite a bit of sense. And then maybe pressuring Zeke, trying to burn through those DK cooldowns one by one. But Draco Cleave, again, doing so much damage, stalling for that next setup. If that's the thing with this comp. They do their goes, they want to just stall in between. And that second setup, if you don't have trinkets, or major cooldowns to save you, I mean, it's lights out. That's exactly what we saw as Nesper didn't have Trinket or Cloak of Shadows, so basically takes full damage from Draco Cleave. Maybe could have avoided some of that damage with Evasion, as we said, but that Devastation Evoker is going to be teeing off the entire time too. So let's see if this RMP can make any sort of this. I keep on calling it RMP. I'm sorry, Sleepyhead. What do you even call RME? RME? That sounds wrong.
RME?
And I'm not going to say that.
You could say RMP because Rogue Mage Preservation.
Yeah. RM Prez.
RM Prez.
Yeah.
Obviously, we got the next match kind of come up here with Hook Point being chosen. Obviously, as we know, the winner of the last team has to choose a different composition. They've gone for their usual Drake Cleave, but with an unholy DK this time. More consistent pressure, less of that kind of explosive stun burst every minute. And obviously, the RMP, Preservation Evoker, have gone for the same comp.
Yep.
Looking interesting. What do you think, Big?
Yeah, I think, geez. I feel like playing a Holy Priest in RMP is really good that Meep's actually on this Holy Priest. A lot of cooldowns to block this RMP setups. But the gates are about to open. Let's see what's going to happen between these two teams, as we're going to see if Nesper is able to land a sap. Does land a sap on the Meep Monk, opening now immediately onto Butta, who is just behind this pillar, teeing off onto Sleepyhead a little bit. Zeke's under a lot of pressure right now, as Feryx is just teeing off with his Icy Veins. Looks like Butta is just getting kind of slowed down a little bit. Let's see if Draco Cleave can respond with the setup. They do get the triple Blinding Sleet into the triple AoE stun, and Nesper is going to be completely fine without popping any major cooldowns. It looks like a hold on one set got away with just popping. It looks like Obsidian Scales is right now, they're getting counter pressured a little bit though by Draco Cleave, but now Butta is taking a lot of damage, and RMP Meeper is stuck into that full sleepwalk. Let's see if any sort of CC can follow. Looks like not. Feryx under a lot of damage. It does look like he's going to be stabilized though with the time dilation. But right now, Draco Cleave has done a lot to force out cooldown, and Sleepyhead is under a lot of damage. Is he going to go down? My stream froze, so I don't know.
Yes, hopefully we'll find out at some point what exactly happened there. Maybe. Oh.
Okay, we are back. We are back. Yeah. We don't know what happened, but something happened. Right now, Nesper in that Cloak of Shadows, pressuring Zeke right now, who doesn't have many cooldowns left, does have that Icebound Fortitude, though, as Nesper is caught into a lot of damage, taking that Chastise from RMP Meeper, as it looks like Nesper is the kill target for Draco Cleave, but Feryx taking a lot of cleave damage right now. Everyone kind of rotting down, as right now there's some counter pressure on the Zeke, as RMP Meeper is stuck into that full sleepwalk. Is there any CC to follow? Looks like the Polymorph does land on the RMP Meeper, as Butter's just kind of kiting away. Looks like he's going to be completely fine. Right now, some damage coming out onto this RMP. As both teams have looked to stabilize a little bit. Zeke under a lot of pressure. Meep taking a full CS as Zeke has no cooldowns left. Let's see how he's able to stay alive. RMP Meeper stuck into the full kidney shot. Has his trinket available. Has life swap available. Doesn't commit that. He's got balls of steel apparently. As right now the RMP looking to do a go, but RMP Meeper is in that Spirit of Redeemer form. Going to be stabilizing the team. They're going to be immune to CC. Let's see if anything is followed. That Frost, Ring of Frost does get denied, but trying to cast out Polymorph. It says Polymorph does land. It could be trouble for Zeke, who's now caught into a cheap shot. A lot of damage. Let's see if the life stop comes out. No, the Guardian does trade from Meep. And I think this RMP is not going to be securing a kill right now, as they're going to be the ones under pressure. Sleepyhead taking a lot of damage, popping that rewind. Feryx trades Ice Block. Basically, the kitchen sink was thrown at that cooldown exchange. And this is pretty much anyone's game, to be honest.
It's looking big. We obviously got a massive zoom into Nesper, who's just doing a load of killing spree damage, trying to stabilize. We do get that sheep onto Butter there just to stabilize, and yeah, all the teams are kind of looking to set up. We've got Dragon Rage used, just coming to this end, from Butter. Yeah, the teams are kind of looking to figure out what's going on. We've got a big Ray of Frost onto Zeke there, which just gets denied. And yeah, the teams are kind of looking good. We do get that full Ring of Frost onto Meep. Are they going to get a bigger setup? It looks like they're going on to Butter, who's also swapping around. And they're doing a lot of damage onto Sleepyhead as well in response. A lot of damage coming out here. Obsidian Scales used by Butter, so the kind of teams kind of stabilized. Nesper going down real low, kind of utilizes cooldowns there, and they're kind of swapping onto Zeke. Both Zeke and Butter going down really low. It's looking like anyone's game at this point. Big setup from the Draco Cleave onto Sleepyhead. Are they going to secure it? And Sleepyhead does go down with the big Eternity Surge from Butter. Wow, that was a lot of damage. There could have been anyone's game, though. Could have been anyone's game.
Yeah, that was again one situation where it's like the Draco Cleave had their go, and we've seen this in the past earlier today, where they just need to survive to the next go, and then they can just win, right? And that's exactly what happened. It was kind of looking a bit dodgy for them. Meep had nothing left. Zeke had nothing left, or at least just traded out his last remaining defensive cooldowns. So Draco Cleave on match point now, potentially going to win tournament if they win this next game. So let's see how Hold On 1 Second respond. And of course that means that we're going to see Draco Cleave. They're forced to play their last composition, which is, as we know, it's actually not my favorite comp, Walking Dead, but I like seeing Walking Dead. It is kind of one of those classic arena compositions. And guys, this is a best of 5 series right now. Now you might be wondering why it's not a best of 7. It's because if Ferrex's team does win, if Nesper, Ferex, and Sleepyhead do manage to turn the series around and reverse sweep, the bracket gets reset, and that means we'd be going into a grand finals second series. But right now, Zeke has the potential with Draco Cleave to completely win this tournament with just one best of 5 series. So Let's see what happens as both teams decide what they're wanting to play.
Yeah, obviously, Draco Cleave having to go on to that Frost DK Walking Dead variant. They were very explosive at last time. I mean, I'm just enjoying the fact that they kind of have this set up in 3 different comps, and they're able to execute it pretty well into, the most renowned and well, we talked about earlier, the highest players on the ladder at the minute, but also one of the most well-known comps in the game, that RMP, obviously with one of the better healers at the minute, the Preservation Evoker. A lot of healing done, a lot of ways to kind of get out of CC, and that extra stun with a Deep Breath is also really good for those goes. It's a solid comp, a lot to deal with, and as we've seen a few times, Zeke's out of cooldowns, Butter's out of cooldowns, there's no trinkets. It can be really scary, but maybe they'll be able to take it on this game. And obviously, if they do, then Hold On 1 Second going to have to change their comp as well, have to move away from that Outlaw Frost RMP, maybe onto the Asa Fire Mage variant or the Asa Frost Mage comps, but there could be a lot of damage coming out. So it's going to be interesting to see what they decide to go for here and which map choice they make. But we are going to load into the game very soon. We'll be able to see which map choice we get and what the comps are. But it's, you know what? This could be it. I'm going to say it, Big. I'm going to say it. This could be the fitting final resting place for Hold On 1 Sec with Ruins of Lordaeron chosen as the map pick.
It is a fitting final resting place, as it is a cemetery, and there is a tomb in the middle. So astute observation there, Jake. Very good. So it looks like we do have Hold On 1 Sec sticking to the exact same comp with that Outlaw Rogue Frost Mage, Draco Cleave back on the throwback, as we've mentioned a few times, with Zeke and Butta playing Walking Dead, and Meat Monk. As we're zooming very far out just to emphasize that this is a resting place with a tomb in the center of the arena. There's some goo. They need to get rid of that. Undercity needs to contact a janitor or something to clean that up. It's been there for ages. As the gates are about to open, let's see if Nesper can get anything going. He's been doing some cheeky openers, but let's see. Nesper does sprint in. We got a very nice top side view. Lands a sap onto Meat Monk. Let's see what he's able to do from that. He looks like he's opening solo onto Butta, who does manage to survive without trading any major cooldowns. Meat Monk is now stuck into a a kidney shot, as right now, hold on a second, is taking a lot of damage from this triple setup. Nesper, let's see how he is able to respond. Gets away with just trading out his Vanish, and the time dilation coming out from Sleepyhead. Really good job blocking that kill from hold on 1 second. Kind of getting away with trading minimal cooldowns. Let's see if Draco Cleave is able to survive this next setup from the RMP, as it looks like Life Cocoon has already been forced out by Meat Monk. Maybe we're going to see Zeke as the kill target, or right now actually it's Butta who's going to be taking a lot of damage, getting swapped to with a cheap shot in that Frost Bomb. Looks like the full CS did land on the Meat Monk as well, but it does need to trade out that Touch of Karma. So right now the RMP has whittled away at some of the cooldowns from Draco Cleave, but Draco Cleave is going to have a setup coming up in 15 seconds. Let's see if they're able to survive until then.
Yeah, absolutely. Of all 3 trinkets still on Draco Cleave there, so they are able to utilize them. Obviously, big kidney shot and deep breath stun onto Meat Monk, who's looking low, trades out the diffuse and the dampen harm there, as Icy Veins are popped by the Frost Mage. Frost Mage was in a paralysis break somehow and gets the trinket from Meep, who then leg sweeps for the big go with a Pillar of Frost up. Strangulate utilized onto Sleepyhead, so there's a lot of damage kind of coming out, but they've managed to kind of hold on to a lot of things here, a lot of damage coming out. But Nesper has managed to stabilize himself, and they are swapping onto Meep. There's a cheap shot on there, big Ray of Frost. It is stopped, but we do have Cocoon utilized. So now it's a question of waiting. No trinkets on Zeke and on Meep, and with Zeke kind of going down, having to use that Icebound Fortitude in this situation and to kind of hold on, obviously, with the polymorph on Meep there, who's utilizing his healing abilities to kind of keep him up. But yeah, both teams have no trinkets on 2 members. Sleepyhead does have his trinket though, so this could be fine for the next go in the setup. Obviously, the setup coming up in 10 seconds for the Draco Cleave, who are taking a lot of damage from this Frost Mage and trying to kind of stabilize there. A lot of damage kind of coming out. Here it comes. Here's the big setup. Are they going to be able to do it? Nesper taking a lot of damage. Is he going to be able to survive? No defensive cooldowns left. Big Strangulate onto Sleepyhead, who uses the trinket and rewind to kind of keep Nesper up. And it is looking scary big.
Yeah, actually, really good job by hold on 1 second managing to survive that setup. Right now, Meat Monk's going to be under a lot of pressure from that cheap shot, or kidney shot and a cheap shot, taking a lot of damage, but it looks like it's not going to be enough to do anything with his health bar. And right now, Nesper's just trying to find a target. It looks like he might want to go onto Butter right now. Right now, Draco Cleave just trying to delay, again, stall into their next setup. So right now, RMP really needs to push this advantage as they have double trinket forced by Zeke and But Meat Monk still has his trinket Cocoon, so I do believe they have a get out of jail free card for this next RMP setup. And right now, Nesper's trinket is going to be coming back up in 10 seconds. Ferric is going to have his trinket soon. Sleepyhead might actually be the kill target for this next setup. Right now, though, Meat Monk caught into a full polymorph does trade out that trinket. Zeke was actually blinded, so some sort of defensive plays here. Is right now, Nesper's trinket did trinket offensively into that triple leg sweep. Sleepyhead's under a lot of damage into that strangulate. He does manage to land that rescue, which you can use while silenced. So it looks like he did manage to survive this setup. And right now, some counter pressure going onto Butter right now, who's gotten the full kidney shot. Meat Monk does block it with that life cocoon, and both these teams are just going back and forth. There's kind of a lot going on. Cooldowns forced from Draco Cleave. No one has their trinket left. Let's see if the RMP can push that advantage, because they have 30 seconds to do so before that Pillar of Frost comes back off cooldown.
Yep, so we've got both diffuse and dampen harm used by Butter there to try and kind of hold on and wait for these cooldowns to come. Icebound Fortitude utilized now. There is a lot of damage coming onto them. They just need to stabilize, so they've got another opportunity to just go on any of these targets. I think Nesper with no trinket. Sleepyhead does have trinket and does have a lot of cooldowns with Emerald Communion coming up in 5 seconds as well. So there's a lot of damage going on to Meep, who's in a full cheap shot into a Ring of Frost. Are they going to be able to get this kill with the kidney shot? No, he's able to stabilize himself, and obviously we've got the big cooldowns coming now. Is the one shot going to come out? Pillar of Frost activated, Dragon utilized. There's a lot of damage coming out, but it doesn't seem to be doing much. Big Emerald Communion with the Strangulate, it isn't kind of holding on. But Nesper's dropping low. He has got evasion. He's got Vanish in a second. He does utilize the evasion. So yeah, both teams are kind of stabilized. We've got the Karma utilized by Butter here. We've got AMZ coming out to kind of stabilize. They are now just waiting for the next opportunity. Ferric's dropping really low, activates the wall there. Still with the ice block though, so we should be okay. Trinkets on each side. Meep has got trinket, utilize a cocoon to stabilize Butter there, but it's looking scary. I mean, it could be anyone's game, Big.
Yeah, unfortunately, there was a triple DR blind coming out on a Meat Monk, who does now block a kill with that Life Cocoon. Let's see right now, because Pillar of Frost is coming back up in 10 seconds. Nesper is disarmed. This Draco Cleave is, again, slowing down the game. It looks like they might be doing a setup, probably, maybe onto Ferrex here. He doesn't have the trinket. Ferrex does blink away, managing to try to avoid this triple setup. He does get caught into the blinding sleep. This is going to be a lot of damage coming out of Ferrex, but Butter is under a lot of pressure. Let's see which team winds up coming out on top in this exchange, as Ferrex is taking the heat, does manage to survive, gets strangulated though, does have that ice block to survive if needed there. The block is eventually forced. Sleepyhead doesn't have many defensive cooldowns left other than that time dilation, which, you know, isn't really that big of a cooldown into a comp like Draco Cleave. It looks like right now Ferrex is just teeing off onto Zeke, who trades out that AMS. Meek Monk does have Trinket Cocoon coming back up in 10 seconds. Nesper right now is under a lot of pressure. He has no defensive cooldowns left, only that cheat death to help him stay alive. The rescue comes in from Sleepyhead to block that kill from happening. But right now, though, Zeke and Butter are taking a lot of damage. This entire Draco Cleave is getting cleaved down right now. Meat Monk caught into the full sleepwalk, does Trinket out and trade the Cocoon into Butter. But here we have a setup coming back up from Draco Cleave in 5 seconds. If they can manage to survive, if Meat Monk can manage to keep his team alive with 0 mana, they might wind up taking this series, as Ferrex is taking a lot of damage. He does have that second ice block, I believe. No, he doesn't have a second ice block up. He's just taking this damage raw, and this is really scary from, hold on 1 second. And it looks like they might have survived. I think they should be fine. Meat Monk is completely tapped on mana. Both teams just barely living right now. And Meat Monk is caught into the 2 cheap shots in a row. Is he able to stay alive? He does somehow manage to stay alive, porting away. I think he should be fine. He does have that Aura Mastery to top himself. But right now, dampening is really high, and Meat Monk is completely tapped.
Yeah, it's a complete mana situation here. Are they going to be able to take down Butter? And Butter just drops from that ray of frost. Icy Veins. I mean, wow, what a series. That was impressive from both sides. They managed to stay alive, but obviously Meep having no mana means that there's not much else he can do. But obviously there's still a 2v3 going on. Zeke is still trying to make something work. Pillar of Frost activated here. A lot of damage kind of coming out. Are they going to be able to secure a kill? I don't think they'll need to. Vanish utilized by Nesper there. Obviously they've got the Silence, Strangulate out. Yeah, almost close. They've got the Cocoon come out from Meep, but it looks like Zeke is still alive somehow. He's still staying alive. Press those death strikes, but it doesn't look like he's going to be able to stay alive any longer. Both Meep and Zeke going down very, very shortly, but they do get that was a triple Song of Chi-Ji to kind of stabilize this. They're staying around. They're going for this 2v3. So yeah, still a lot kind of going on. We've got a lot of damage kind of coming out here with the cheap shot onto Zeke, not lasting very long. I mean, Meep's still able to keep him up. We've got a lot. Kidney shot, DR kind of coming out. DR cheap shot. Are they going to secure the kill? And Zeke does go down eventually, but they tried. I mean, that triple Song of Chi-Ji was pretty amusing. I'm not going to lie. They kind of zoomed across there and got hit. So Sleepyhead got hit by that Song of Chi-Ji right at the end as he kind of zoomed over it with the deep breath.
Meat Monk, trying to pull his team back from a 2v3. He wants the series to be over. He has a 300-word essay to write this afternoon for school. But hold on 1 sec, managing to stay alive in this series. But now they don't have that Outlaw Rogue available to them. They just have 2 Assassination Rogue comps. So we're probably going to see some very volatile matchups here. We just had a 7-minute match. That was the longest game of the day. It felt quite short because a lot was happening kind of constantly throughout that entire game. But still on match point. Zeke's team, again, they're hard locked into playing this Walking Dead. And now, are we going to see a Fire Mage or are we going to see a Frost Mage with that Assassination Rogue? What do you think, Jake?
Well, it's going to be interesting. I feel as if them having the Frost Mage is going to be good to kind of lock down the Walking Dead. I feel like there are a lot of moments where Ferrex got a rare Frost out on Butter or Meep, and as they were kind of zooming around a corner, so he was able to maintain that damage still as they ported away. Obviously not a fitting final resting place for hold on one sec. In fact, they kind of beat the odds. They defeated death itself. The Death Knight, Walking Dead. They were able to beat him off with a bat and go in to keep the game alive, even though we are still on the grand final match point. Final point? What is the word for it? Something like that. So it's. I think it's anyone's game. If match point, if they're able to kind of see it through with this Fire Mage Asa, maybe I think that'd be a lot of damage. But I feel like it would be weaker than the Frost Mage, at least to kind of keep the melee in check.
I do like that Fire Mage. It was it did kind of get a dramatic rework in this expansion, and for a while, Fire Mages were pressing Flame Strike, kind of triple cleaving teams down.
Yeah.
Fire Mage for a while was not that popular in Dragonflight. Of course, having to play with that glass cannon PvP talent to do a lot of damage isn't exactly possible in a meta where there were, for a while, there were Marks Hunters everywhere. So Fire Mage kind of went dormant for a while, but now seeing some play in the later stages of this expansion. So we're going to see what comp they decide to lock in. I think the Frost Mage is probably the safer pick, right? As you said, like, can do some damage through line of sight. You're a bit tankier. Fire is still quite squishy. Glass cannon, and it does have that cauterize, but only one charge of ice block. So we're going to see what comp, that this RMP has decided to lock in as we load into Ashmane's Fall, and it looks like they are playing that Frost Mage Assassination Rogue into this Walking Dead.
Yeah, I think this is definitely the safest bet. I think into the Outlaw Rogue, one of the things that Draco Cleave were doing, which I think was one of the reasons why they got the first kind of 2 wins in those amazing sort of setup goes, is the Deep Breath Firewall that kind of blocked line of sight that allowed the Outlaw Rogue to die. With the Walking Dead variant, I feel as if like it's just a bit more difficult with line of sight still established, and Outlaw Rogues are so tanky. Maybe we might see an Asa Rogue die here. Obviously, we've got the cheat death. We've got a load of bears around the side as well, just kind of. They're just chilling. These are, I mean, I don't know if they're just, what are they going to do big? Are these bears going to jump in the arena?
I mean, hopefully not. I mean, we might need to call a zookeeper. It looks like the gates are going to be opening. Let's see if we can get some vision onto Nesper, who is going to be popping that sprint. Let's see if we can land a sap onto Meat Monk. Doesn't look like he's able to secure it as combat is established by Draco Cleave. Let's see who they decide to set up on. It looks like we have a triple Growth Silence out on Draco Cleave right now. It looks like Zeke has already committed IBF. Pre-CC on a Nesper with that Panda Racial getting caught now into the Blinding Sleet. It looks like Nesper might be the kill target. Let's see how he responds. He responds with the Trinket Vanish immediately, saying, hell no, I'm going to get out of here as quickly as I possibly can. Sleepyhead taking a lot of damage. Does manage to survive by blocking it with the time dilation. It looks like Hold On One Sec is going to be completely fine. Let's see who they decide to tee off on. It looks like Bud is going to be taking some damage. Caught into Kidding Shot. It is going to be blocked by the Life Cocoon from Meat Monk. Really good job trading that cooldown. But it looks like Nesper still has Death Mark available. So he hasn't committed to, one of his biggest offensive cooldowns. Just committed Shadow Dance here. And right now, again, the RMP really needs to push the advantage they have in these key moments, as Draco Cleave is looking to stall until their next setup, but looks like Nesper is going to be taking a lot of damage right now. A lot of AoE damage coming out onto Draco Cleave as that Deep Breath does fly in from Sleepyhead. Looks like Butter is going to be the kill target right now, taking a Glacial Spike directly to the dome. Is going to completely survive that. But that setup from Zeke is coming up in 7 seconds. Let's see who he decides to use it on.
Yep, there's the big cooldowns coming from Zeke. They used the Panda Racial last time to set up on Nesper, but there's the paralysis onto Sleepyhead. They're going to bring it in onto Nesper and Sleepyhead at the same time. A lot of damage cooldown. Pillar Frost utilized, and Nesper is so close to dying, and he just goes down. Touch of Death utilized there to just send him to the afterlife, and that was a big setup. And as I thought, with the move from Outlaw onto the Asa Rogue, they take a lot of damage, and there's not much that could be pressed at that point with the Trinket only just coming up now from Sleepyhead. So yeah, Draco Cleave are your winners for the technically PvP 33 tournament of the summer. Wow, congratulations, guys.
Yeah, congratulations to Draco Cleave coming out guns blazing with these really explosive comps. But good job done. Good job from all these teams, You had 3 teams. They all did great. But yeah, this was the first ever summer 3v3 tournament from Technically PvP. And congratulations to Zeke, Butta, and Meat Monk. Meat Monk's surely happy because now he can go write that 300-word essay that is due on Monday.
300 words.
So
Yeah.
300 word, it's quite a lot. It's a lot of words.
Yeah.
But no words can describe how explosive these games were, between these two compositions. But congratulations to everyone involved, and thank you for everyone for participating. And that was an exciting series of games. I mean, we only had 3 teams, but we've been here for 2 hours.
Yeah, I
Uh,
was literally just thinking that. I was thinking we've been here for what feels like a really long time, but it's gone really fast. Like the games were explosive. I don't know about you, Big, but I feel like the Conquest setup, having to swap teams, having to fight on the back foot with a different style of gameplay is something different, something interesting, something that you have to do slightly differently than just going back to your best comp every time. So definitely more exciting for us to watch. And I don't know about all of you watching at home, whether or not you feel the same way, whether it was more exciting to see a different team comp, whether how the strategy works there. But yeah, it was very exciting. Is there a game in particular that kind of stood out for you, Big?
I mean, that 7-minute game was pretty intense. It didn't feel like 7 minutes shoutcasting that. I'll tell you that. It felt like a 3-minute game. Anyway, very exciting games overall. A lot of explosive comps. And if you guys at home watching or listening want to participate in potentially a future tournament, head over to our Twitter at technically_PvP, and surely we'll be tweeting out details of any future tournaments. This is something we're going to looking to be doing more frequently, throughout next expansion. Of course, War Within is right around the corner in late August, and so we're hoping to do some more tournaments on Saturdays, and I'm hoping to have some teams, some bigger prize pools. So if you're interested, again, follow us on Twitter at technically_PvP. And thanks to all the people. Thanks to everyone who tuned in today. Hope you enjoyed the games. So first time shoutcasting. I mean, not my first time, but it's been years since I've shoutcasted a tournament. Jake's first time shoutcasting. So, the tournament had a few hiccups, some technical difficulties, but we're gonna try to improve as the months go on. And yeah, if you're interested in participating, hit us up on Twitter. Should be fun. Jake, do you have any final words for these teams or for the audience listening at home?
Yeah, I do. I just want to say a big shout out to those that have donated to the prize pool. Obviously, we have crowdfunded everything. And in case you didn't know, obviously, this is all on Match Arena if you did want to check, and will be the same probably going forward. But obviously, first place gets 45% of the prize pool, second place gets 25%, and third place gets 15%. So actually, great news is today that every single team that has participated gets a lovely reward for being here and doing that. And I really wanted to say a big thank you to the teams. You guys were fantastic. Every game was exciting. Everything was exceptional. And obviously, big GGs to Draco Cleave as well for winning. But yeah.
And
I
we
mean,
might potentially have a winner's interview here if we're gonna see if you guys want to stick around. See if we can get if we can wrangle Zeke into the call.
yeah. That'd be cool. We've spoken to Zeke before on the on the Technically PvP podcast, so it'd be great to speak to him and get his thoughts on how the games went and how and anything else you might want to plug as well. Obviously, that'd be really cool. Yeah, let's see if we can get that sorted. Our technical team are working on it. Garasar is hard at work, scratching his beard and making sure that gets all done. Okay. And yeah, we've got Zeke here with us now. Zeke, if you're able to hear us or let us know whether or not you can at any point. You may be still muted. Hello, Zeke.
All right, yo, you guys hear me? I just set up the push to talk.
Oh,
Okay.
nice.
Amazing.
Well, congratulations to Draco Cleave. Meat Monk getting his allowance for the week to buy McDonald's. Congratulations.
Hey, that's right, dude. That's right. It's really nice. Even myself, I'll probably get a little Big Mac, for the culture. Those are some hype games, boys. I'm very excited. That was a pretty dope tournament. I feel like every series was actually like very explosive. You know what I mean? That was some cool games.
Yes.
Yeah, for
Just
sure.
just out of curiosity, I mean, you've competed in the AWC. What did you think about this format, the Conquest format, where you have to win as all three comps? Do you like it? I mean, what are your thoughts?
Like it was cool. It was cool. I at first I didn't know that you had to change your comp once you won. And that definitely spices things up a lot because you can't just play the same comp over and over. You gotta at least switch to healer. And I mean, to be honest, if AWC had that, I think you'd see a little bit more variety too. I get why each tournament has its formats, but it was pretty cool. It was fun, and we like normally we wouldn't really even be able to play our Windwalker DK just because the dragon version is usually better into most things. So it was hype. Like that was like a throwback because any of the OG Draco Cleave supporters, they know like that used to be our main comp back in Shadowlands. Like we ran that from season 1 till like, the end, literally. And we even played a little bit in Dragonflight. Then we're like, okay, this dragon stuff is kind of broken.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about that because you guys, you made a name for yourself in Shadowlands with that Windwalker DK, and it just seems like this new version of Draco Cleave, the Devastation Evoker Frost DK, it's on another level, right? Like it's its own
Dude,
beast.
let's just say, man, if dragons existed, if the Devivokes existed in Shadowlands, bro, I'd have so many rank ones by now, too, because it would have been so good in Shadowlands, man. But Windwalker DK was fun and he got the job done back then. Dude, it was a really fun tournament, guys. I'm glad I got to play in this. Shout out to the Draco Cleave, the Greasy Gang supporters. Shout out to the people that contributed to the crowdfunding. That was cool as hell because that probably motivates a lot of people to compete in these.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
Jake, do you have any questions for Frost God Zeke?
Yeah, I mean, I just think it's you guys have done such a fantastic job. Obviously, you kind of the pioneers of that kind of Frost DK Devastation Evoker. How did it find when you had to kind of switch up? We had to play that against different variants of things, like when you move between comps, like playing it with Unholy DK as opposed to Frost DK, for example.
Pioneer, I like that word, dude. I like that word a lot. Because you really don't see many people playing it these days. I mean, you saw like the Frosty comps a little bit at the start of the expansion, but you don't see it too much these days. And now, to be honest, you'll probably see more Unholy Dev than Frost Dev just queuing on the ladder.
Mm.
And to also answer your question, is I feel like there's a set of kind of comps that are really hard for just any Frost DK comp. And like I think kind of like Brett War Fistweaver comes to mind. Or
Mm.
like comps that are like, Frost, Mage Lock, Holy Free, stuff like that. It's just super hard to get like a clean setup or they're just really tanky. Generally, something like Unholy Dev just does well into most things. It's not like as much of like a rock, paper, scissors kind of matchup. Where like even a bad matchup, you still have a good chance because it's not so all or nothing. And
Mm.
generally, like something like a Frost Mage comp is a little sketchy, even though with the Prezivoker and the Rogue we're able to still get wins. Something like Unholy Dev was like a huge lifesaver just for like getting like an extra like reliable win that doesn't come down to us having to make like really clean setups with like no mistake and being able to win with like the win con set with no cooldowns left because you can kind of get lost in the sauce playing against Prezivokers between like Trinket Rescue, Communion, and all that. And so just having like a nice regular win condition is always a great thing because, like I said, the frost stuff just doesn't work into everything, and it's very counterable. And we realized that quickly when we were starting AWC. That's why we started putting our focus more on practicing these new comps too. And that's the main thing. It's a little bit less bursty, but it's a little bit more like just a traditional 3v3 comp. You just have
Mm.
pressure, you have damage, you can win on mana. You still have those grit blind setups. You saw like the games where we played on Holy Dev, I think like we won on our big grit blind go still. So it's still definitely explosive, but you're not putting all your eggs in that basket.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like our way of like mainstreaming the Frost DK stuff in a way where we can still play it at a competitive level. It's
Yeah.
same play style, it's just a little bit less YOLO.
Yeah, I totally get it. Lost in the sauce was my favorite thing that you just said. Honestly, like that's the best phrase I think I've ever heard in my life.
Oh
But
yeah, dude.
that's a good one. But yeah, that's everything from me, Zeke. Thank you so much for kind of stopping by after and obviously congratulations on your win. But thank you for stopping by and doing a little interview with us.
Yeah, man. Hey, and dude, you guys did a good job casting. I was sitting back. We were doing a little conquest farming in between the games because Butta's Windwalker was like had a couple greens on, and
Yeah.
I just had the stream on. I was listening to other games. It was cool, dude. Good job, boys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Appreciate
thank
it.
you.
Enjoy your Big Mac.
Hey, you know what it is, dude. Thank you for having me, boys. I'll grease y'all later, fellas.
See ya.
Peace.
All right,
Bye.
see ya. All
Cool.
right, guys. Once again, thank you all for tuning in. It was a pleasure to be able to shoutcast the very first technically PvP tournament. And we're looking to do this in the future, so hit that follow button and follow us on Twitter too, or X, whatever you want to call it. And Jake, it was a pleasure. And
Pleasure as always.
shout out to Garrisar in the background, who's been doing the broadcasting. It's not an easy job, so shout out to Garrisar. Jake, any final words before we head out?
No, big shout out to Garrisar, who's been whispering soft nothings into our ear to kind of keep us on track and keep everything going. So yeah, big shout out to him. Big shout out to everyone that's watched today. And we'll see you in the future.
Yes, guys. Take care, everyone. Thanks again for watching.
Bye-bye.